and welcome to the Red Barrels podcast. It's not just any episode. It's episode 20, which is like a round number. That's important, but much more important, it's our 1 year anniversary today as we record. This is, in fact, literally exactly 1 year since the first time we recorded the podcast. Yay! Maybe I'm adding some like crowd sounds into
Happy birthday
the edit.
to us.
Just
I'm not going to
little
sing the whole
confetti
thing. That's
noises.
too long.
No, that's
yeah.
enough.
I meant to bring some party poppers, but I forgot, and I apologize, dear listeners. But it is 1 whole year of the Red Barrels podcast, and what an incredible year it's been. The huge impact we've had on both podcasting and games and politics cannot be undescribed. It's huge, so
Things
huge.
will
I don't
never
think
be
I
the
can-
same.
No,
They'll never be the same.
they won't be. They won't be. I think all of our listeners know that implicitly within them. And so, to mark this occasion, not only is it me, Alex, as usual, and not only is it Ed. Say hello, Ed.
Hello. Good to have you back for our big anniversary. But boy, what a treat we've got for you, Alex.
True. And not only is it Sophie. Say hello, Sophie.
Hello. What a treat.
But we are joined today by a very special guest, an incredibly special guest. It's only the superstar streamer, LITTLEBEAR36.
Hello. Hello. Thank you for the insane introduction.
Yeah.
Yes, one of the biggest streamers in the entire world here, present for the anniversary of the Red. Wait, okay, I've
Queen
got a
of the
question. Is
streaming
it red?
platform.
I should have asked this before, but is it red barrels
should know this.
or red barrel?
God damn it, Elby.
With
Red barrels. It's plural barrels.
red barrels.
Red
Okay.
barrels.
We're each a barrel.
Yeah, each
Yeah.
of us are a barrel. There's multiple
Okay.
barrels on the podcast.
All
We're all
thousands of
explosive
people now.
barrels.
Thousands of people are shouting at their podcast device, saying, "Of course, it's
Okay,
red
well.
barrels."
Course.
It's one of the, Anyway,
Mhm.
well, yeah,
Welcome.
Well,
Welcome
Thank
to
you.
Red
And also,
Barrels
it's like the first time
podcast.
I've ever been on a podcast, so
Oh,
But yeah,
I didn't know
I know.
that. Well,
Thanks for
thank you.
joining us.
Genuinely, thank you. I feel quite honoured now. I only felt a bit honoured, but now I'm incredibly honoured.
I'm not even upset that Little Bear 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 35 said no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and you had to go through all the 35 little options. Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, we did
okay.
ask them, and they did
Yeah.
say no. And it
They were
Little
busy.
Bear 12 is a bitch. I'm going to say
Yeah,
it.
Little
I'm going to say it. I mean, seriously, they were so rude. And we were just very
You
nicely
can't
asking
say
if they'd
that,
be on the
Alex.
podcast.
Me and Elby can say that. You
All right,
can't
well,
say
I'm
that.
sorry,
You're
what
not
the fuck
allowed.
up.
You're not
You don't
allowed
know
to
how
use
bad
the
they
word,
were.
but
You
you're
don't
not
know how
allowed to
bad
use
they
the B
were.
word.
Alex.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
It's just so funny because that is literally the bog standard joke that every single chatter makes in my chat. It's amazing that you guys haven't interact much with Twitch or as far as one know from Soap and being involved, because you are basically designated chatters as far as I'm concerned.
Turns out we are all chat.
Yeah.
It turns out.
it is the greatest honour of my life to be considered to be in your chat, Little Bear. I'm made up now. I'm made up. That's all I need for the rest of my life. I can just cruise
die
until I
now.
die eventually. Very happy, very happy. But we are going to move on because we have a special segment. That's right. It's back. I'm
Oh.
brought it back. I've resurrected
Oh,
it from
God.
Oh.
dormancy. That's right. We are again playing Character Class Consciousness. It's back. Yeah. I'm looking at Ed. I'm looking at Sophie. They look so excited that this is back. They're so happy.
Yay.
This has made up everything for them. Their disappointment is now over. Little Bear, I'm assuming you don't know what this is. This is a game we play. One of the
Alright.
best games maybe ever conceived by humans, in which I name 2 video game characters, and us all have to determine which one of them is more of a
Oh.
proletarian.
Mm.
Mhm.
And that's basically it.
Bringing this back.
Okay.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
might be
Alright.
Yeah.
particularly difficult for
It's not
me
who would munch
because,
me.
but you know what? I'll just sit out if I don't know, because as much as I might
You just
be
gotta
a
make a
professional
wild
streamer,
guess.
right? I haven't played a lot
Professional
of video
leftist
games, and
streamer.
I specifically only really got into video games 4 years ago. So a lot of the classics I'm completely unaware
Don't
of.
worry. There was one of the episodes he asked us who would Marks made in Marvel Rivals, and I just said the Shock Shark Boy.
Shark
Yeah.
Boy and
That's-
I
Labrador.
don't. That's the only character I know.
That's our other game, which we
Yeah.
aren't playing today. That's Who is Mark's main, and
Okay.
that's kind of
It's a different
self-explanatory. But that's kind
You're
of
allowed to not know
self-explanatory.
anything. It's
Okay.
fine.
You don't have to worry about
All
that.
right.
You don't have to worry about
no, I
that.
can do it
Today
then.
we
The
are
rules are made up and
determining the class
the words
makeup
don't
of
matter.
2 video game characters. And who are those characters? Well, I have them right here.
Wow.
Wait
In
for
this
it.
envelope.
I should print out an envelope.
Moonlight. No
You
way.
should have it handed to you in an envelope. Be like,
I
thank
should
you,
do. I should
team."
do. I should do. Especially for
Thank you, Sheila.
maybe for the second anniversary. Maybe the second anniversary. No, the characters are 1, Tingle from the Legend of Zelda games versus Alan Wake from the titular Alan Wake games. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Who's the most proletarian out of them? I'm looking at Sophie, who doesn't appear to be immediately checking Wikipedia. Doesn't seem like that's what she's up to
Okay,
right
no,
now.
I have a
So
question.
tell me right off the top of your dome. Oh, go
No,
for
no,
it.
no,
Go
no,
for it,
no.
Elby.
Can you main
Thanks, Ellie.
Tingle in like the games? Like can you actually play? And what is Tingle? Like I've played the last 2 Zelda games. If you
He's a
Tingle,
35-year-old
the-
man who's obsessed with the forest fairies
that's
Huh.
true.
and dresses
Interesting.
up in a green costume.
He first turned up in Majora's Mask, so Ed should be an expert on this. That's a game he's discussed on this very podcast.
Yes.
Then he appears in his most expansive role in The Wind Waker, where he has an island and he sells you maps. He's also a weird man who is apparently 35 years old. They make a big deal out of that. And he wears a weird kind of skin-tight green, like latex body suit, I guess. And he declares himself to be a fairy. And he does a little dance and he has a little song.
Crucially, he sells maps. So
He sells maps.
that's it.
Ah,
That
and
will
he's-
reveal his class to you straight
he-
away.
Oh, that
He-
does. Yes. Okay.
Well,
Sorry, spoiler alert.
of his own accord, yes, but compared to his class, in this case, rival, Alan Wake. Alan Wake, he is, we know what his profession is. He is an author. He writes books in the form of crime novels, mainly.
Ugh.
And he then falls into, he's widely regarded to be something of a hack writer. And in the Alan Wake games, he falls into the Dark Place, which is a weird,
Not from Garth Marenghi.
mysterious, is quite similar to Garth Marenghi. Genuinely, I kind of vaguely considered seeing if I could hack the original Alan Wake game to replace all of Alan Wake's dialogue with AI-generated Garth Marenghi dialogue. That would be very funny. That's also a huge amount of effort and technical expertise that I don't have. So someone else should do that. But you can just take that idea and percolate with it. But he's a horror writer. But
Please
he's
tweet at us or post on social media if you end up doing that,
Yes,
and we'll
do that,
we'll
definitely.
shout you out in the show.
I mean,
what a prize that would be.
I'll play through it the whole way through. I'll stream it. I mean, I'll start a fucking Twitch channel for that. But
So
he's a horror writer, but he has been living in this weird void called the Dark Place, where narrative becomes real in various weird ways, and he's been trying to escape the best part of 2 decades. And it's a spoiler to say if he escapes at the end of Alan Wake 2 or not. But that's who Alan Wake is. Versus
given a
Tingle.
disproportionately long description of Alan Wake compared to Tingle from the Legend of Zelda games. And I guess I'm gonna say that I guess my immediate instinct is then Tingle is petit bourgeois because he sells maps, he's got his own business, he sells his own products. I don't think, looking from the Wikipedia page, it doesn't seem like he makes his own maps, so perhaps he procures them potentially from labor that is not his own, which would then make him his petit bourgeois. So I would have to say, I think Alan Wake then would be the most proletariat because I guess he's a writer. Might be a hack writer, but still a
He's
writer.
also a very
so-
successful writer. He's very rich.
It doesn't necessarily mean that he's not working class.
I know.
I guess.
I'm devil's advocate.
So I
I'm
guess
just giving
yeah.
information. I'm not casting
Devil doesn't need a goddamn
aspersions
advocate. That's fine.
or opinions
guess
on
he's-
this
I also
matter.
have an answer.
I guess I don't know. Yeah.
Which actually,
Yeah, go ahead.
I've come to the same conclusion as Sir Freedy, but through a far more Twitch-coded response, which is everyone called Alan Wake
Yay.
Alan Woke in when the Alan Wake 2 came out. So that's why, just on that reason alone, the fact that everyone called him Alan
He's
Woke,
Alan Woke.
he's more proletariat in my opinion. Yeah.
Well, the game got called. The game is called Alan Wake, and it got called Alan Woke basically on the basis that there was a second character who's kind of like the dual protagonist who's a black woman. But that isn't Alan Wake.
Right.
Alan Wake
Oh,
is definitely
yeah, I
a
mean-
white man.
Still though. Still, he is also
No, I mean
Alan
Alan
Wake,
Wake. Like
That is
by
true.
osmosis.
Yeah.
in my mind.
There's a bit
In my mind.
There's a bit where there's a
In your
gender-neutral
heart.
bathroom, and I think me and everyone else who saw that went, haha, more like Alan Wake.
Gosh.
Yeah, I mean, Tingle's a merchant and Alan Wake is an artisan, I guess. I guess of those, though, I would say being an artisan is probably closer to being a proletarian. So I think it's going to be triple lock. All three of us declare that it's Alan Wake. And if you disagree, Alex,
I swear to
think
God.
you're wrong.
I think you're wrong.
I think
Wow.
you're wrong. And
Wow.
you're going to
You're
look a
wrong.
fool in front of the entire audience and LittleBear36. So,
Yeah.
check
Well,
yourself before you
I
wreck
couldn't
yourself.
do that.
there,
I
man.
couldn't do that because you know what?
What?
Just this once, maybe just this once.
Are we saying right?
Full coherence on the Red Barrels podcast. You are all three of you correct. Because obviously I
Right.
This is
knew
the
the
first
I
time
knew
this has
I knew
happened,
the
Albie.
knew the objectively correct answer before I came in. And that
course.
is Alan Wake. That's because
course.
Tingle, he actively runs scams. He fucking scams you out of so much
Ah.
money in Wind Waker for those maps. Literally, it's outrageous, especially the original. They reduced his prices in the HD remake. And I didn't even mention the HD remake. I only mentioned the original one where he properly scams you. So,
Bastard.
so genuinely, yes, Alan Wake is more of a proletarian. So congratulations, everyone. We did it.
Wow.
Way!
It only took us
go.
1 year and we've
Only took us 1
completely
year to get
mastered
one
it.
right. Yeah.
You're
Like every
you're
single
good
time
Marxist
has there
now.
been like an argument. Every single time.
Alex likes to do this thing where he just goes, "You're wrong. It's actually this character," and then offers no explanation as to why.
Yeah.
As I
So,
said, if you were good communists
great
and good
bit.
Marxists, you would know the
Yeah.
answer. So I don't need to go any further. I've made that very clear every single time.
Mhm.
But this time, there's no need for animosity. We're all on board.
We're all on the same
We're
page.
on board. I'm not
I think he's
editing Ed
just-
out of any photos like that guy in the Stalin one.
I think
Not
he's
doing
just
that.
trying to show off in front of you, Little Bear. He's trying to seem like a
Mm.
nice guy because we've got guests. But
Yeah.
as soon as you
Seem like-
leave, he's going to be like,
seem like-
fuck you, you're completely wrong. It was Tingle.
Oh gosh.
Look,
Okay.
Look, I told you it's an objectively true, and all three of you managed to get it correct.
Thank you.
That's not how it works. It's not my fault. You were wrong every time, Ed.
This is why our
Anyway.
podcasts are like 2 hours long.
Anyway, well, speaking of, let's get on with it because, as I said, this isn't just an episode, a special episode because it's our 1 year anniversary, and it's not just a special episode because we have Little Bear on. It's also a special episode because we're doing a whole new special thing for our game segment. We're only
Oh.
talking about, well, not really. We're not talking about one game. We're talking about a whole genre of games through the lens of one game, maybe, and that is the new nascent genre. Very, 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 very hot button of FRIENDSLOP. That's right. FRIENDSLOP games, the kind of games that you play with your friends. And for some reason, that's bad enough that we call it slop. Who
Not
here?
quite. I guess the thing.
Oh, okay. Well, Sophie's
All
got
right,
opinions.
I think let's define FRIENDSLOP, right? So I would say that a FRIENDSLOP game is a game that you play with your friends, usually features online, so not a physical in-person game, but it is an online video game, usually features proximity chat, though that's not
Mhm.
a necessity, usually somewhere between 1 to, I think, probably 4 to 5 players. I think probably 5 or 6 is maybe the max that I've seen, where the goal of the game is usually to complete some seemingly simple task, but it becomes absurdly difficult because of challenges that the game throws at you. I think that would be probably the default definition. I would say the slop, which I think is debatable, and I think it'd be interesting to talk about it. The slop aspect of it, I guess, like, obviously when we use the words like AI slop, obviously it is derogatory. But I do think I mean it complimentary, where I think the slop comes from the fact that these games are usually they're produced usually by very small teams, as we discussed during our game, as well as usually produced maybe during game jams. And as far as I understand, I feel like they're not really made with that much longevity in mind. They might be made just to sort of make a bit of a splash. People play them for a little bit. I think some of them have dedicated fan bases, but I feel like the slop part of it kind of implies this slightly unfinished nature of some of these games. I don't know about how you guys feel, if there's anything I've left out of that definition.
Well,
How do we-
just to give people a bit of context, since you alluded to it there, Sophie, we did, as a podcast, play a couple of games of a particularly popular FRIENDSLOP game at the moment called Peak. Maybe not the most top hot button game, but we wanted to. Other ones are maybe a bit janky at the moment, so we kept it a bit safe with Peak, and we played a couple of games. The three of us, the OG Red Barrels crew, we played a game mainly because we wanted to work out the technical issues without embarrassing ourselves in front of Little Bear and Little Bear's audience. But then we later in the week played had a fun evening playing the four of us on both Sophie's and Little Bear's streams. And yeah, it was a fun time, I think. How by all. Ed, what did you think about your time playing Peak and FRIENDSLOP games in general?
Yeah, I guess on FRIENDSLOP games in general, it's not something I've had a lot of experience with. I'm mainly a single player focused person. So when you were saying the definition, the only other thing that I would think you could add to that would be, I think they're normally like very cheap. I think that's part of the appeal of them.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Which means that your friends can quite easily get the game as well, and then you can all play it together for a very small amount of money.
Yeah, Peak cost you $3.95, I think, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Very, very
pounds.
Yeah, I mean, I had a really good time playing Peak. I would say, I guess we can talk later about. I've got some edge cases that I'd like to talk to our streamers about who are a bit more experienced in FRIENDSLOP. But I think the only other main FRIENDSLOP-y game that I've played is Among Us, which I know you said, Sophie, you consider to be the first FRIENDSLOP game. So this was an interesting experience to me, and I would definitely say the game was fun. It had its limitations, but what it actually was an excuse for fun social interactions, and I think it was basically just hanging out with two of my friends the first time and two of my old friends and hopefully a new friend in Little Bear the second time, and it was just a good excuse to have some fun rather than like really being about the game itself. I don't know, Little Bear, you're a streamer. You're a streamer pro. When did you first become aware of FRIENDSLOP as a genre, and is it something that you do very much?
I would say FRIENDSLOP, like if we go back all the way to the Among Us. So Among Us, obviously, I would agree with Soph did sort of pioneer FRIENDSLOP completely. I really liked, even before I was a Twitch watcher, I really liked watching Disguised Toast's VODs, and that really got me interested, I guess, in those sorts of games. But I didn't get to play them for a very long time because then I think later I streamed and I got involved in other Twitch communities and things like that. But yeah, I love FRIENDSLOP games. I love playing sort of contentious, not really contentious games, but games where you can have a chat and have an argument with people.
Good little pick, man.
Yeah. I will say I think the recent era of FRIENDSLOP has actually been pioneered by a different game, Lethal Company, which is, I would say, actually pretty different than Among Us, but still very similar in its sort of vibe. And then obviously Repo.
What's Lethal Company like? I've not really touched on that.
I actually spoke about it on one of our previous podcasts, I think. Or no, I spoke about Repo.
Yes.
I spoke about Repo.
Yeah, you spoke about Repo.
It was Repo you talked about.
Yeah, which was the sort of
successor to Lethal Company. It's all right. He remembers everything.
I can explain Lethal Company if you want. Lethal Company is basically a dystopian world. Your job is to go to various planets and collect a whole bunch of treasures that have been left behind by other humans, but there are lots of very scary monsters that will basically, kill you, and then, either a teammate has to touch your body or they just leave without you. The graphics are particularly interesting. It's a very specific kind of graphic for the game where it's more of
almost like PlayStation 2.
Yeah, I would say.
Vibes,
but it's very, very cool, and that really, I think, pushed FRIENDSLOP, which disappeared for a while, right back into I guess the space on Twitch. I wouldn't really know outside of Twitch, and then Repo came, which was very, very similar to Lethal Company, and now Peak, which is different from all of them, but still very similar concept.
I feel like they've all kind of evolved on each other as well, where Lethal Company, had this very simplistic graphic style. They all kind of do. If I'm talking about FRIENDSLOP, I'm thinking specifically Lethal Company, Repo, Are We There Yet, which is a game that's sort of most recently popped off on Twitch, but it's slightly jankier, and then obviously Peak. They all feature very simplistic graphics as well. They're all very cheap to buy and seemingly kind of a bit cheap to make as well. Made by quite small dev teams that feature frequent updates. Some of them are early access, some of them are not. When I got Lethal Company, I think it was still early access. And I think when I got Repo, it was also still early access. But Peak is a full release game. And so is Are We There Yet, as far as I can tell. And I feel like they've all been kind of like evolving and sort of ideating on each other, where like Lethal Company came out and you play as these sort of, men in space suits, basically, in jumpsuits, which are not customizable. And the reason I mention that is because Repo kind of added a bit more customizability to your little avatar robots that you play. And they also have like animated faces, which are very cute and are animated when they talk. And I feel like that adds a bit more personality to the characters. And then Peak, which kind of came after Repo, also you can customize each character. You can change more than just the color. You can also add accessories to like your character's face. You can change the facial expression, etc. Kind of similar to Among Us back in the day, which also, I don't think that was a feature that was initially available in the first release of Among Us. So I feel like especially they've been like ideating on this very like on how to add more character to the characters that you're playing, that they add more sort of comedy to like hearing your friends' voices come out of these little avatars, because there is like an inherent comedy out of that. I think Repo especially, it was just very silly and cartoonish seeing your friends' voices come out of these like little robots with like Pac-Man mouths, and it was really cute and charming, and the proximity chat really helped there. Also, I think really important as well is that with the proximity chat, which for those of you who don't know is when voices are kind of locational. So like if your friends go further away from you, then the voices get quieter. If they're closer and on the right side of you, then you can hear it through your right earphone or on your left earphone, etc. But also they often had specific voice effects according to whatever environment you were in. So if you were in a tiled room, then you might have some echoes. If you're in a cave, you'll have really big echoes. Peak, especially, the further you get away from people, the more people's voices will like echo really dramatically. And if people are right up close, then it's like really crisp and tight, the sound. So it kind of really adds to this immersion of being almost in a room with your friends. Yeah. So sorry, I got kind of carried away there, but I feel like I feel like they've all been kind of ideating on each other, which is really interesting.
There's also one in particular that I didn't enjoy playing called Content Warning, which was actually specifically...
I did not like Content Warning. Yeah.
Yeah, well, because Content Warning was specifically making fun of content creators playing... What was it called again?
Yeah.
The one before.
Yeah.
No, I need to go back. I've got my Steam open. I'm so bad with names. Yes, Lethal Company.
Lethal Company?
No, it's specifically making fun of Lethal Company.
Lethal
where
Company.
instead you're supposed to take...
Phasmophobia is actually also sort of in there.
We just basically take photos and content within the game, but the game is very much colorized and just like a more stylized version of the Lethal Company, which I didn't really enjoy that. And then there's one other one I wanted to mention, which in case anyone likes assembling furniture, where is it? Oh, I played one called Calact, another FRIENDSLOP game. I completely hated it. It's about assembling IKEA furniture. It's awful. It's like, it's more, I guess, in the genre
really
of
funny,
like those cooking games, that everyone plays. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think something as well that I didn't love about Content Warning, which I feel like expands into sort of my further point about why these games are popular on streaming, and I don't know if you would agree a little bit, but I also think that Content Warning was not very funny. It just wasn't very funny. Like, I feel like Lethal Company, people get jump scared all the time. People die in really ridiculous ways. Repo as well. There's so much like emergent natural comedy that happens just because of the like ridiculous things that can happen in game. But Content Warning, the whole point of it was kind of like you had to film things and be like, and then like act like crazy streamers, I guess. And it just wasn't very funny. And also you kind of had to maybe be a bit funny in order to make it funny. But I feel like, especially with streaming, things like Repo and Lethal Company, funny things will happen to you. And there's also this trend on like TikTok of video games turning people into like 5-star voice actors. And Lethal Company and Repo did that, where people would get so scared that they'd like scream like from their heart, from their stomach, they would be screaming. It would make for very, very funny emergent gameplay.
That's kind of like part of the twitchness of these things, isn't it? Because I mean, that's kind of one of the reasons I wasn't really keen on some of these earlier ones that were more horror themed, because they really seemed like they were engineered in order to generate streamers like massively over exaggerating how scared they are on stream, which is not something I particularly enjoy. I mean, no shade to anyone else if they enjoy it. I think it's fair enough, but there's a fairly common. I mean, going way back to PewDiePie and stuff of just like pretending to be incredibly scared of something on screen. And this is just, and those early ones like Phasmophobia, it seemed like they were just like made in a
I
lab
guess-
to make those things happen, and it
Yeah.
felt a little cynical to me. Whereas these
I see what you
newer
mean.
ones, these newer ones were they seem, I guess, a bit. I mean, there's still plenty of opportunity for streamers to enjoy it and stream them and stuff, but like something like Peak, it's a lot lower key. There's a lot more just like hanging around. It's something I could see just doing with my friends for fun rather than, because those other games, even if I was playing it with my friends for fun, I'd kind of feel maybe pressured by the Twitch stream stuff to be super scared and super like overly
you're very
heightened
lucky.
emotionally.
I wish that I could
I don't know how
pretend to be scared.
mm.
No, I do. Genuinely scary games like freak me out completely. So, like,
That's the thing.
it's one of those things where like I listen back to clips sometimes of when I've been scared in a game, and I'm just like, this is so embarrassing. I'm literally hyperventilating. Like, and it sounds so. But you're right. Like, I feel like
What a
people are not going
baby.
to like
What a
believe me
freaking
and think that I'm putting
baby.
it on. But yeah, I guess in the games it's designed for me because I genuinely get like terrified. But yeah.
Yeah.
So
Anyway.
Go ahead, Ed.
Little Bear, the one honest streamer.
So there's like a commonality there, isn't there, between Sophie and I think Little Bear, did you say this too? Not liking content warning because it feels maybe like it's a little bit forced, and then that's kind
It
of
does
similar to
feel
what Alex
forced,
is saying.
yeah.
Like it feels like it's forcing these moments for streamers to react to.
Yeah.
It's not even quite that it's forced. It's just, it's very, very, it's meta. Like it's in itself is making fun of those sorts of games. So like interacting with it, you can't really have the same reaction.
Mhm.
It does feel
you
a
can't
bit
really have the same
mean-spirited.
reaction as to, like playing Repo or anything like that, because it's, or Peak, because imagine you're playing a Peak-like game that was making fun of Peak, and in that game, like, there's a whole bunch of prompts that basically make you act like streamers and everything. It's way too meta and way too forcing of where the content is supposed to go, rather than like engaging in like, us all like suspending disbelief and pretending like we're actually climbing a mountain, where it's like, no. Yeah.
From a
That's the thing-
non-friend slot
yeah.
person perspective, that reminds me of, I think we spoke about this before, maybe Cards Against Humanity.
Oh, I hate
And
Cards Against
none
Humanity.
of us, I think, really like that game. And it
Mm.
sounds like maybe content warning's got somewhat of a similar dynamic.
I would agree.
whereas-
I would agree. Where like I don't know how you feel, LB, but like I dislike Cards Against Humanity. I also don't really like Jackbox, the prompt games as well, just because I do feel like
It's okay.
they
It's
feel
all right to be wrong. It's okay.
that's fair. I think especially Cards Against Humanity, I feel like there are some Jackbox games which I've enjoyed, but especially the prompt-based ones I don't really enjoy, because more often than, especially when I'm playing with like, I don't know, I've played it with like IRL friends most of the time, things like Cards Against Humanity, and I've never enjoyed it just because I feel like my sense of humor doesn't quite align with people I've known my entire life, and I thought we would laugh at the same things. And for there, it also feels like there's this sense of like forced, I have to perform laughter even at a prompt that I don't think is very funny because I know one of my friends wrote it and I don't want them to feel bad, but I also don't genuinely find it funny. And sometimes people will just vote for like the most random option rather than what I think is the most well-crafted option. So
I will just
it
say, I
feels,
think you're
those
playing
games feel forced
wrong.
in terms of
Wow,
like,
burns on Sophie's
think you're
friends
playing
who are
those-
deeply unfunny.
You're
I'm
playing those
learning.
games wrong.
They're
You
just
should
so
never,
unfunny.
like, whenever I play Cards Against Humanity or any of those games like that, if you think the prompt is awful, like, be like, no, that's dog shit. Sorry. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on this podcast, but okay, all right.
oh yeah,
Okay,
please,
well,
go
I
ahead.
would,
no,
I would
like,
request
I-
more swearing, please.
Exactly. No, but
Fucking
it's
bullshit.
one of those things where it's like
Dial it down,
no,
Sophie.
don't feel when you're playing a game like that. Like when people engage with those sorts of games and they're sensitive and they're gonna get their feelings hurt if you like, don't like the prompt they put down, then you shouldn't be playing with them, in my opinion. Like it's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no, but that's I don't get like it's like I don't know. And one time as well, I was like playing with like a group of strangers, and someone just made like a straight up racist joke, and I was like, okay,
Wow.
well,
Okay, yeah.
I feel
No,
like
that-
we didn't need this, but yeah, I feel like for me, content warning felt really forced. It felt very unemergent. It felt like I kind of had to make my own fun. Whereas like I think Repo and Lethal Company, and I was gonna say as far as like having these big reactions and stuff, I also think that like with Phasmophobia, which I also feel like kind of popularized proximity chat. and specifically also on stream. I remember Phasmophobia was so huge on Twitch, like when it came out, I feel like. And I do think that when you're surrounded or quote unquote what feels like surrounded by your friends, I think it's a lot easier to feel genuinely quite scared or genuinely quite tense in a situation where, like, I don't think there's never been a reaction that I've dialed up or felt like I had to force on like Repo or Lethal Company. Like, I've never been like screaming in those games that I felt like I had to force. But I think also, like, you know, if you were to walk into a haunted house with your friends, you're all going to be like, ooh, it's so scary, you know, and I do feel like you're going to have those heightened reactions because you're all reacting to each other. And if somebody gets jump scared, then everyone else is going to get jump scared. Like, you have these wonderful chain reactions of one person going like, ah, and other people going like, oh my God, what is it? You know? So I do feel like, again, playing it with friends is this kind of, like, it propels itself really well. Like, the comedy and the energy propels itself really well, and the content makes itself, essentially, especially when it comes to like live streaming it. I think that's why these games are so popular with live streaming, is because it just makes their jokes write themselves. Funny things will just happen.
I remember there was a particularly fun moment. I'll just, it's such an easy thing to explain, so I'll just explain it. Like, when I was playing Lethal Company with Nandre, and there was this monster, essentially. Have you guys ever watched the Doctor Who, the Don't Blink, basically? So
Yes,
the
Sleeping Angels
the
one.
monster basically that like has a spring head and it will only move if you're not looking at it. And I remember being called across like by Nandre. And then now I had my eye on this monster and he just ran away and was like, okay, now you're stuck with it. Goodbye. So there you go. And then it's like, so you can do little fun things like that. And like, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
This is all quite new, isn't it, as a genre? Like, in terms of it being described as FRIENDSLOP. Like, it's...
Well, the term FRIENDSLOP, according to Wikipedia, was coined in March this year.
Yeah.
So yes, it's very new. I mean, these games existed before that, but the name FRIENDSLOP.
Yes, I read this, and the examples they gave in the tweet, were Lethal Company, Repo, and Content Warning. So we've really hit on the core entries in this conversation already.
It's interesting because, like, something that's, you know, what is really the difference between, say, one of these FRIENDSLOP games and, say, I don't know, off the top of my head, Overcooked, the multiplayer game where you're playing with friends, doing the chef stuff. And I don't think I would consider that to be FRIENDSLOP. And I think the difference is that there's so much downtime in most of these other games, right? There's a lot of time to just hang out and chat with your friends. You know, Peak, we should probably talk more about specifically what we thought about Peak in a sec. But in Peak, you know, there's a lot of time when we're just like walking from one place to another. There's not much going on at the moment. And we can just like talk about whatever we're talking about as friends. Whereas if it was something like Overcooked, we'd be, you know, shouting, okay, you get on the tomatoes and I'll do this. And, you know, it's a constant stream of that. And that's fun in its own way. But it's interesting, there's like now this new appreciation of just like having far less like actual game there, at least on a moment-to-moment basis. And much more time to just hang out. And that's quite a new development.
Yeah.
It's kind of a multiplayer game.
I saw a TikTok a couple months ago, which was like trying to catch up with your gaming friends. And it's like, yeah, you know, life's been pretty rough. Look, squad of 3. He's on 1. Shield broken. Okay, he's cracked. Okay, he's down. Yeah, so life's been pretty tough for me. You know, I broke up with my girlfriend. We're getting bad ambush. And it's like, yeah, actually with other games, you can't really have much of a meaningful conversation. I used to play a lot of games with my brother, mostly competitive shooters, things like Overwatch in the past. And one friend of mine, you know, we all used to like playing it as a group, and then we'd be like, oh, let's catch up, let's hang out. But you won't really end up catching up or hanging out. You're basically just playing the game. And in this case, some of my friends would get super tilted and mad at the game. And just wouldn't actually be that pleasant of an experience. So I feel like it actually answers this very specific niche problem of I want to play games with my friends as an excuse to chat and hang out and not the other way around. Where it feels more like a vehicle for conversation as opposed to conversation being a vehicle for the game or something. I don't know about how you guys feel.
I was thinking another kind of game that I was thinking about when we're sort of thinking about this episode is games like VR Chat and Rec Room. I'm not sure if you guys know those games. I guess the difference with those games maybe is that for those you don't know, you basically log into this log into these games, and it's also a bit like Second Life, if people remember that game from a very long time ago now, I think.
Yeah.
You basically log in and then it's just social interaction. Like there's not really a game, or although people make games within those games, but like the core of it is you're just having a chat. Like in VR chat, for example, you might be in like a fake, a VR pub, and you'll be just sort of talking to people or messing about. So I guess that's on like the other side of the spectrum. Like that's even less game than FRIENDSLOP. On the sort of VR chat to first person shooter spectrum, FRIENDSLOP's like somewhere in the middle, where there is still the game to pull you forward and to focus on, but there's also the opportunity to just have a chat. So thank you, that's interesting, because I was coming into this thinking, well, maybe VR chat and Rec Room were basically just FRIENDSLOP games, but now I'm thinking maybe not. So
I do think there is a benefit to having like just that little bit of kind of structure of a thing that we're talking about and the thing that we're doing. That doesn't
also
take
like
up
a thing
too
to
much
watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of maybe like kind of feels a bit like the sort of Gen Z Subway Surfers of like I'm talking to my friends, but also I have a thing to do, which is kind of nice. But yeah, so I guess let's talk about Peak more specifically. LB and I have, I do love Peak. LB and I have played separately and together lots of Peak on stream. It's an extremely fun game to play on stream. We ended up struggling a bit because that second map is so difficult. Oh my god.
It's crazy.
So difficult.
I've got to say, I don't know who thought that was a good idea. That first level is a pretty that first level is nice and easy. It's like an easy, and when we played that, I was like, wow, this is a really cool little game.
Yeah, this is lovely.
This is a fun time.
Delightful.
I'm looking forward to getting, a bit more difficult than this.
A bit.
And then that new level comes in, and it's just like, I mean, we played, I guess a combination of like 6-7 games or something. And I don't think we ever worked out how to, we never saw even the smoke from the campsite that's our goal for each level. We never even saw it. We assume the direction it's in. Like, we don't even know that for 100%, right?
I don't feel like I'm any closer now to finishing that level than before I played the game. Like, I've just got no idea. I've got no idea.
Yeah. I would definitely recommend.
Yeah, you have to get really sweaty about those sorts of games in order to, I think, push through. Like, mainly for me, it's like a lot of chat mods. And that is another aspect of these games as well. But also, just for listeners, if you played Peak 6 months ago, Peak is different now. Level 2 is different. Okay, it's not the same Peak that you're used to playing.
You no idea.
All right.
Not your dad's
If you're listening
Peak,
and thinking,
man.
wow, these guys suck, you're like, you don't understand. It's not your dad's Peak, all right?
Don't understand.
I think
pain,
also
guys.
something about these games as well is that, and I think that Peak has missed the mark on this one again, but only with the second level. But like they are usually like quite difficult, and they have to really, because there's silliness and fun in failure, and I think also, I feel like also kind of combating this phenomenon of like FPS games where people get super tilted and take it too seriously. You fail often. And a lot, and often in very silly ways. And I feel like that's the game's way of encouraging you not to take it too seriously and to just sort of laugh it off when you fail. And I think a lot of these games are really, really good at making failure very, very likely option, but also, not. And you can sort of like laugh it off if you do fail. But if you do actually manage to succeed, it's this really nice sense of achievement, which, like, unfortunately, with the second level of Peak, I feel like it kind of has misbalanced that, and it is a difficult thing to balance, like 100%. I think that's, in terms of game design, like obviously giving the player an appropriate amount of challenge is really difficult, especially when it is supposed to be a little bit too challenging all of the time, so that the achievement feels really kind of rare and good. But it felt kind of impossible.
I should say, just for any listeners who haven't played Peak or don't know about it, just like a brief overview of what the game actually is. So it's one of these FRIENDSLOP games. It's low on immediate moment-to-moment action, but you start off in a kind of lobby where you choose your character and what they look like, and they all look like kind of weird Muppet guys. And you're in an airport, and then you go board your plane, and the loading screen starts. And in quite a clever little move, the loading bar never completes. It breaks off quarter of the way through because you have crash landed. You don't get to your destination. So you start off on the first level, you start off on a little beach, and you gather various items. that can help you out. You need food because you will slowly get hungrier. So you need to find some there and scavenge more as you go along. And I'd say that first level is quite an easy trek. As I say, it's called Peak. So you have to go to the top of a kind of, I wouldn't even
God.
call it a hill, a mountain, but a hill. Find your way up some cliffs, do a lot of climbing. Eventually you get there. And then once you rest and light the fire, the next level appears in front of you. And in our case, it was this apparently new biome, which is a forest full of mushrooms and like trees, obviously, and also spiders and these bugs that fucking tip you over. And the worst thing maybe created by any human, the dust that turns you into a zombie. I hate that dust so much. It got us so many times. We tried over and over again. We couldn't beat it. We put it onto Tenderfoot, the easy mode. We still couldn't beat it. I don't even know if we did. I didn't even know if we did any better in easy mode.
The dust got us every time, apart from the times we died trying to evade the dust.
No,
Yeah.
of course.
We
I
fell out of the tree
honestly,
instead.
like that is
Yeah.
actually
Sorry,
one
LITTLEBEAR.
thing that I really, really do like about FRIENDSLOP games is the fact that like, and it's also why you need to make sure to like just make sure people are relaxing and chilling, because I really do not care about like the progress you make. It's really just about like playing with other people. Like I never care about like winning or, you know, in example for like Mario Party, which I also, even though it isn't really, I do consider it FRIENDSLOP, even though it's much more established and expensive. But yeah, and I really like that. I like the fact that like we don't really need to care about like how far you go, you know?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Mario Kart famously is just completely random and there's no real way to properly win other than just get lucky.
Exactly.
And so the encouragement is do not worry too much about winning. You have almost no control over the process. And that is very much in the FRIENDSLOP vein.
Yeah. I should also say that obviously most of the games that we've mentioned, with the exclusion of Mario Party in this case, they are cooperative as well. I'm not sure if I actually mentioned that, but yeah, that's also I think a key component as well, especially for me, where like I got kind of sick of playing competitive games
and
online.
who you're playing with,
But
exactly.
you can turn on each other as well, which is also really fun. Like I have been murdered by ladders in Lethal Company, and let's just say that ladders, that's not a creature. They can only be dropped by other players. So, you know.
I suppose Among Us is also, there's kind of teams in Among Us.
Kind of teams, yeah. And also fake teams. You know, you can also make a team and then turn on each other and stuff. And also that's really fun and silly. Yeah.
Oh, that's another thing. That's another thing that actually like really has pushed FRIENDSLOP as a genre is mods. Actually, compared to most other games, like all of these games, like as soon as they drop and become popular, within like a few days, will
mods
have
are big.
mods where you can basically do whatever you want. You can add more players, which, you know, like some people go crazy and make lobbies with like 12 people. I can't handle more than like 5 people on a mic, you know.
I can't.
But
It's
yeah,
too many goddamn people.
but they're incredible. Like especially for Lethal Company, the mods are just insane. Like the amount of things that you can do.
No, you're so right.
You know?
Yeah, you're so right.
What other kind of things are there other than the player stuff?
Custom dance emotes that the mods had, extra players. Like I remember in Lethal Company you could add there were like custom monsters as well. One of the mods I remember was like there was a doppelganger effect where some of the monsters would then copy one sound that one of you or your friends had made somewhere earlier in the game and then like play it occasionally to like lure out other players or something.
Is that mod?
And it would choose a random sound.
I saw clips of that
mod.
online. I didn't realize it was a mod. Wow,
I'm pretty sure that's a mod. And like it would happen where like you could, you know, you'd just be talking to your friends and you'd be like, hey, what's up? And then it would copy like, hey, what's up? And then people would be like, oh, is that you, Soph? Kind of thing. And I think that's a mod. I don't know if they ever, as far as I know, that's a mod. But maybe they then took inspo from it and then implemented it actually in the game or something. Yeah, I remember you could like, there was like a boombox that you could take around and just play like custom music. You could put your own music in the game. Like stupid shit like that. I don't know if LB, if you could think of any others or if you played with any other mods.
I mean, I think mainly the mods would probably be, I think there's always a mod to add more players.
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely that always happens. And then I think just generally it would be cosmetic or just silly things that people can do. Yeah.
Custom emotes
mods
as well.
normally never make the game easier, which is, something very much that happens with these games.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, they never make the game easier. They more often than not make it more difficult, or just more stupid.
Yeah.
So, and then I think that
Can't
is the
wait
sort
to
of
see
charming
how
aspect of
hard
it.
that second level can get.
God damn.
Oh, you'd be
I
surprised.
haven't played Peak with many mods. I think I've only played Peak with. I've never finished Peak. I've never gotten to the Peak. I think I've only gotten to like the 3rd or 4th biome, and that was before the latest edition. And I haven't really played it with that many mods either. I think maybe I've played it with additional players, but that's about it.
So I'm not a big board game boy, right? But there are some board games that I kind of enjoy, and those are mainly like the social deduction-y ones, where the game basically makes you have like an interesting conversation, and you sort of lie to each other, and you know. And so FRIENDSLOP, for me, when I first played it, was obviously Among Us, and Among Us is a social deduction game. So I wonder to what extent, basically, I feel like there's a similar dynamic with that kind of game when it goes well. You're in person, you're playing a game that you're probably not taking too seriously, and you're sort of having these weird conversations with each other. And to what extent is FRIENDSLOP just like that, but on the internet?
Yeah,
And
they
also,
do feel kind
are
of
there
board
other social
gamey.
deduction-y FRIENDSLOP games? Like as someone who's not that familiar with the genre, other than
No,
Among
but
Us?
also,
I
what's
can only think of
interesting about
Among
Among
Us.
Us is like, I think a lot of us forget proximity chat is not in
Yeah.
the game. That's actually something that a lot of streamers eventually added, which became a mod that a lot of people use, or I don't know, maybe it was the other way around. But it actually is very much like a solo game, which I actually prefer, not like listening to people in between while doing the tasks and everything, because then you don't have to be on guard the entire time. And you can like then focus on like, okay, this person was there, which I do enjoy a lot. But no, I actually haven't seen any more of those kind of deductionary style games like Mafia or whatever that I really enjoy, as well. But I also enjoy
I do
Peak,
kind of think like
so,
the like the -1 FRIENDSLOP games were essentially during the pandemic, the Zoom calls that most of us had where with like family and friends where we played Mafia or what things like that, little just like games over Zoom. And like obviously then Among Us, which I think existed before the pandemic and was basically
I
just
think
like a
it was very
completely
popular.
obscure thing that no one noticed. But then when the world happened to just align perfectly with with the game, it became huge. And I do wonder if like most of these games are they just a hangover from the pandemic? I mean, these are pretty much all indie games. I know Lethal Company, I think, was made by one person. And I'm sure all of them were made by small teams, the ones we talked about anyway. And I wonder if they just took, they indie games tend to take a long time to make. So is it that all these people just started these kind of similar games during the pandemic and like now they're finally coming out? I wonder. I don't know.
I think that is kind of my theory, is that like, I mean, during COVID, I think a lot of people associate COVID with like a particular video, especially people who play games, maybe associate COVID with a particular video game that they probably played with their friends because they had a lot more time at home. For me, it was Valheim. I had a Valheim server with a bunch of friends. And like I associate that game with just like, with the pandemic, with like feeling like you had a sense of community and friends when you were at home alone, surrounded by the same people for weeks and months, right? And I do feel like, I don't know, I mentioned in the sort of like group chat as to why I wanted to talk about it, that I feel like maybe there's something about the sort of socio-economic political moment that we're in currently, that there's this sort of desire to have a feeling like that again, of like connection with our friends, connection with what feels like a community, especially like for me who has a lot of friends overseas, from living in different countries, but also just from like streaming. I have a lot of friends that are just living in different countries. And I, when I used to play Repo, one of my friends who played Repo with us, Marty, who suggested doing the FRIENDSLOP episode on the podcast, he was like, he loved those games because it felt like you were in the room with your friends. It felt like it's like a really it's quite a strange phenomenon to experience. But like Peak, I'm sure you guys, when you played Peak, you can attest that it feels like being in the room with other people.
Yeah.
It's very strange because of the proximity chat, and you're helping each other and you're using emotes to each other and using gestures and stuff, and there's comedy in that. I feel like it's, as you say, maybe it's a coincidence that people sort of started developing these games several years ago and now they're
I
also
guess there's
coming out around the same time. Or this is just what people are
I
craving.
actually think it's a bit of both. So, because one thing in particular, and I think
Mm.
a lot of us went through this during COVID, I went through a period of realizing I didn't want to be around a lot of the friend groups that I was hanging out around. And I think a lot of people like
Yeah.
went through a
Mm.
restructuring, a revaluation. I think a lot of people became like more interested in certain types of politics for the bad side and very much, in my case, the good side, thank God.
I think people
And
became a lot more
and
online.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I don't think at the time like I would have enjoyed playing these kinds of games with the group of friends that I had, because there wasn't that like I think FRIENDSLOP games have allowed people to have like hangout spaces with something sort of fun to do with people who they really, really, really enjoy and really connect with, that they haven't necessarily had the chance to have that same sort of enjoyment in a social space with someone else, And I think specifically for like the queer community online, that is a big thing. Yeah, because you will find that a lot of these games are very progressive in terms of like the devs. And there's lots of like add-ons and all of that sort of stuff. A lot of the people that I know who are very into these games are always queer.
Yeah, there's something
So,
about playing the game rather than just having
Yeah.
a Zoom call where the sort of the medium or like the artifice of the fact that it's through a screen kind of disappears and you can get absorbed in the game rather than being constantly aware of the fact that you're not actually
Yeah.
with that person. Or at least that's been my experience.
I think
I guess we've talked as well about how a lot of these games are the product of game jams. So for example, Peak was a game jam that they finished in February 2025. So I guess not all of them will just be literally what you were saying, Alex, of games that started development during COVID and then have come out now. Because some of them, I think quite a lot of them have been produced very quickly in a few months
it's
in the
probably
last
true,
year
yeah.
or two. But yeah, it definitely feels to me like Sophie's onto something with the they have a special appeal in a period of time where there's a lot of social isolation going on, like more widely in society. And this is a very sort of convenient way of being with friends and like quite a visceral feeling way, even while being hundreds of miles from each other.
Yeah, I mean, like, we statistically know that people are feeling lonelier than ever. Obviously, the impact of like social media, et cetera, et cetera. But I think also state of the world, it's just not, it's just, it's a lot of people don't want to interact with other people. But like, as LB said, I think, especially in communities where people are making lots of online friends or online communities, especially in like queer communities where like people could be from like, countryside towns where their local community isn't pleasant with them, but, and they can be online and it won't be hostile for them. And it creates, like, as you said, kind of a visceral feeling. It's almost physically intimate. Like, that's kind of the weirdest thing about it, is it can feel quite physically intimate. People can feel oddly close to you, like physically, if you're getting really immersed into a game. I mean, I don't know, even when I'm thinking of when we were all full playing Peak and you'd be climbing towards the top and there was someone up there and you'd be like, help, 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 and then you'd like, someone would reach out your hand, you'd be like, oh my God, thank goodness.
Yeah, or when you die and then you're all in the elevator together and you're like, whoa,
Whoa.
give me some space.
And I guess there's also another
really
element to that is
interesting
like you
about
can play
that.
these games without like the social perception of the world looking at you in the way that like you couldn't go and climb a mountain and do the funny things that you do with your friends like you do in the video game. Like you're a little bit uninhibited in that way. I think that allows people to be
You're
a
so
lot more
right,
funny, a
yeah.
lot more themselves, all of those sorts of things,
And I
yeah.
guess as sort of, good leftists here, there's been a sort of, let's say, a decrease in sort of social spaces or in communities over the
absolutely.
last, at least since the 70s, since the birth of neoliberalism. And a big project for the left is how do we build up communities again so we can sort of be together collectively and then, eventually, hopefully, like act collectively in this new environment other than just going through the mechanisms that already existed in the last era, which we still love. We still support trade unions, we still support all those kind of social spaces. And FRIENDSLOP is an interesting phenomena from that perspective because it's like, here is quite a real embodied feeling that you get while being remote. So, I mean, I don't know if there's, what the future holds for community, but there is something here
We need to make
that
church.
is interesting
That's what we
from
need
that
to
point of
do.
view.
We need
Make
to
the
make
church of
we need to
FRIENDSLOP.
make a
Also
church.
interesting
But you need like
that you
atheist
even mention that
church.
because it's also something that big companies haven't necessarily been able to capitalize on. Like all of these indie games, all of them are coming from like,
yeah.
single creators or in game jams. Like these are not big corporations like pushing this towards you as like, this is the content you need to enjoy. Okay. They're not filled with microtransactions. They are filled with bugs though. A lot of bugs. So, but then
Yeah.
also a lot of the time,
Janky.
like
But
people
again,
are
usually that
patching these
adds
out.
to the
Yeah,
comedy.
exactly.
Mm.
Yeah.
I
Adds
think
to the
it-
comedy, and you don't feel cheated as well because the games are so cheap, as well. So you can't really be mad if the game's full of bugs. It's like, yeah, I paid £3 for it though, and I'm having a great time.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that maybe that's part of like what adds to the slopness of it is that these do feel quite disposable. I mean, I haven't heard anyone other than this podcast is the first time I've heard anyone talk about Lethal Company in ages. So it feels like that was a big deal, and then it kind of petered out. I'm sure some people are playing it, but Peak is a big deal. But even Peak is a little bit
Yeah, it's being
past it
phased
because
out,
now
yeah.
the Are We There Yet is the new hotness, and I'm sure in maybe 3 to 4 months there's going to be a new one, and
Probably even
they
a month, I would say.
Yeah.
Honestly, it feels like they've got about a monthly turnover.
Mhm.
They
So
feel.
From
I
my
mean,
perspective,
Mm.
that seems like a really positive thing. Because
Mm.
if we look back at previous attempts to sort of make money off of socializing, we're looking at like social media, like socializing remotely,
You're
I mean.
right.
And social media, the way that works is that basically you can't avoid interacting with the biggest social media platforms because they've got everyone on it. Whereas this turnover, this churn of everyone hopping from one game to another means that no one can quite monopolize that space. Not everyone's going to be on Peak next year in the same way that I've still got a Facebook account, even though I don't use it because, everyone that I ever met at secondary school was friends with me on it, and I sort of would feel bad leaving it. I don't know.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
I wonder, something that another sort of FRIENDSLOP game that we have kind of ignored is probably Roblox. But though I kind
I've
of say
never
that,
played it.
neither have I. I'm not a 12-year-old.
Well, okay now,
But,
okay now.
from
Okay,
what
there was a
Okay,
there was a
Roblox.
period on Twitch where
was
Dress
Dress
to
to
Impress
Impress.
was very big and everyone enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I've heard
You
of
should
that.
play
I've
Dress
heard
to
of that.
Impress.
Yeah. I mean, I've never played it.
I really wanted to when it came out, but then
I will
then it
say,
passed.
Mm.
As these
Dress to
games do,
Impress
again,
was
as they
amazing
do.
because you had these very big burly like K-Kona coded streamers like Queso playing this Barbie doll dress up game, and I love that. I thought that was so cool that
I
like
love
it
that.
didn't matter that this would be something that like when you were 12, like it would only be seen for girls. I do like the fact that 35-year-old men are like playing these games and enjoying
It is a
them,
fun
you
aesthetic.
know?
It is.
Yeah.
So if you've played
I've only-
Roblox, Little Bears, do you think there's a kind of
Look,
friend-sloppy
I'll be honest
appeal
with you,
to it?
Roblox is like Roblox is not like a game that you can, because it's not really a game. It's a game platform. It's
Yeah.
that like community members make games. So I've only played Dress to Impress. I try to stay away from Roblox as much as possible, but Dress to Impress was just like very popular at the time, and it was lots and lots of fun.
But yeah. I mean,
But,
I
yeah.
said I've never played Roblox, so I don't really have a close association with it. But like, it definitely seems to be at least a lot, especially for children, a place to hang out online that they use extensively, and there are game elements to it. Which
Yeah, to me, I guess I wouldn't describe it as FRIENDSLOP so much as like not that I don't have strong feelings. I'm not super passionate about the definition of the. I guess I wouldn't describe it as FRIENDSLOP just in the same way that I wouldn't describe Minecraft as FRIENDSLOP, where I do feel like people hang out in the same way on Roblox as they seem to on Minecraft. Again, not really understanding how Roblox works.
Sure.
Of just like people also have like.
I mean, I think Roblox is one of those things that you can't really say someone's hanging out on Roblox because they're always going to be in a specific game. And all of those games
In
are
a specific
completely
game.
different.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even like
Maybe there are FRIENDSLOP
Yeah,
games on Roblox. I just
100%.
wouldn't
Well,
know.
I'm sure there must be some, but my point is that like I think this is kind of like the imagination of what a massive corporate version of a
Yes.
FRIENDSLOP game would be. I.e., they peak a game that will probably last a month or two in the general consciousness and then kind of fade away. That wouldn't be acceptable to a company. They would want to milk that cow for as long as possible. And so a giant platform that has kind of FRIENDSLOP experiences on it that's also full of predatory microtransactions and all sorts of
Child
the
exploitation,
dodgy
et
shit
cetera.
that goes on in Roblox. That's probably what it would be, right? If they wanted to do that, and I imagine
with a little sprinkling of Fortnite in there as well, I reckon.
Yeah,
if they
yeah.
wanted to keep it going, get your
Yeah.
celebrity guests
Yeah, yeah.
themed for the day or whatever. Yeah.
As Ed says, it does feel instinctively, it feels like a good thing in a way. Like I said in a message to LB earlier where I was kind of describing, it feels like they're almost kind of fast fashion-y in terms of just like they're made very quickly. They're trendy for a short time. That's why I think they don't make a lot of effort to make them perfect because nobody's really going to care. It's really cheap. It's fun while you wear it, while you play it, and then you end up moving on to the next trend. But that being said, it doesn't feel particularly wasteful, except for on the end of I'm sure the game devs would love for people to play them longer, but more often than not, it is a one-time purchase, so they're not necessarily getting more money out of it. So it does feel quite optimistic in terms of just making games for the love of games and for the love of just watching people play your silly game. Where it's like, hey, I've got this idea. What if you just climbed a mountain with your friends? What if you just collected trash with your friends? And it feels quite
there's also one thing
pure.
and I guess
Go
this is
ahead.
just a very streamer perspective, is some of the most memorable moments for me are playing FRIENDSLOP games. It is just undeniable that
Absolutely,
it doesn't
yeah.
matter that it was
Yeah.
a fast
Some of my best
fashion,
stream memories have been playing
moments in
FRIENDSLOP.
terms of the game being played, but the moments from those games I always remember way more than playing through any other game like Hades, for instance. Even though I love
Absolutely,
Hades,
like a full title game.
So, but yeah, because
I
think
couldn't
for
agree
me,
more.
that's where I would. Sophie mentioned it earlier, Minecraft. To me, the appeal of multiplayer Minecraft was actually quite similar to what we're discussing here. There is a game, you can do the game stuff, but basically it was a thing where you would hang out with your friends and mess about and be a bit creative and sort of, have a good time. So for me, that feels to me like a sort of a progenitor, like a proto FRIENDSLOP. But
I don't know.
Maybe that's a misunderstanding.
That's for people who like to build things. I want to climb the mountain. I want to go click the thing in the place.
True FRIENDSLOP is about destruction.
I don't want to have to build a house. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's boring. I don't want to make a cake in an oven.
It's just
whatever people do in Minecraft.
On the note of something you said, LB, it's I think I remember some moments from some of my favorite Twitch clips are gonna be moments from FRIENDSLOP games, and I think the main reason for that is because it feels like memories with your friends. It's just it's just fun memories you made and fun memories you have of that one time we played Repo, that one time we played Peak and everyone died, or that that one time we all got freaked out because something creeped up behind us on Lethal Company. It's actual real memories that you have made and share with your friends, as opposed to playing a solo player experience and being oh, it was really great when I beat that boss. And it's sure, I guess. But I think it's so much more visceral because it feels like having these experiential memories. There's something really interesting about that. So I think I do want to make a disclaimer that obviously, despite it being FRIENDSLOP, and slop implying low quality, I would disagree with the sort of slop, I guess, aspect of there. It feels a little bit bad because I don't think they're necessarily bad quality. I think there's a very specific reason that they're made cheap and easy and quick. And it means that you can have a cheap and easy, quick, little fun game experience with your friends.
And I also would say
I enjoy that was the first thing that we said in this conversation. So it feels like the whole conversation up till now has been answering the question of why is it slop.
Why is
it? Sorry, little
That's
bit.
Sorry, go ahead.
there was something else I wanted to say, but sorry, I'm so ADHD that I completely forgot. There's something I wanted to
Would it
add.
be slop or memories?
I also would like to say I
Twitch clips.
particularly with Peak was very impressed with the new game mechanics with regards to your health bar that they implemented. And I will say, I think because these games move so quickly, game devs do play around more with mechanics that maybe they had in the background of their mind and they never would implement, because there is a sense of freedom with the fact that these things can change and so I do like that a lot, because I do think in particular Peak's game mechanics, with regards to the health bar setting up and being filled with certain things, I've never seen that before. Maybe it does exist in other games, but that in particular I think we are going to see that copied and seen in a lot of other games, not just FRIENDSLOP. That is very new. Yeah, it was
They feel
very
innovative
in my opinion. But
they're they feel like a good space for innovation.
There is a game coming out which is kind of interesting in this conversation called Big Walk, which is by House,
gonna come out
which
next
is
year, I think.
the company, next year. It's by the company that made Untitled Goose Game, and this is a follow-up to that. And that is basically kind of, in hindsight, a FRIENDSLOP game. I think they've been working on it for years, and when you look at it, you're like, oh, right. And I suspect that when they first saw Peak, they kind of, got a pit in their stomach as a game that is quite a lot like theirs turned up for a fraction of their cost to develop.
It looks even more like Are We There Yet, actually.
Oh, really?
They look very similar, And they've been in... I remember seeing... Somebody sent me a trailer for Big Walk, like, the other day on TikTok, and I was like, I remember seeing this a year ago.
Yeah.
I'd seen this same trailer, and I was like, God, I really hope they get it out in time for this, like... FRIENDSLOP trend, because like it kind of sucks that this idea has taken off without them, seemingly, even though they've had this idea seemingly for ages.
Yeah, I just think it, my concern for their finances aside, while it's hardly a AAA game studio, they put out a game that were, Goose Game was like a big deal, and they got a lot of money from it, and also it was like a very solid little game. It was, quite polished for what it was. So they're like seasoned developers. They have a bit of a team at least, and they've been working on it for years. It's going to be interesting to see what it turns out is a FRIENDSLOP game is like with let's say less of the slop on it. But maybe they'll be kicking themselves and wishing they'd spent like a fraction of the time making this game. But I know, it'd be interesting to see.
I'm sure given like the puzzle element that, like, I've played Untitled Goose Game, like it's probably going to be a lot more small tiny things that
there are puzzle elements,
people will focus on and everything. I mean, in general, as much as we say people move on from these games, like I'm pretty sure you could find a lot of people still playing Lethal Company. I'm pretty sure you could find a lot of people still playing Peak, even though like there's a new one coming out. Like I certainly will still be playing Peak. I even still play Among Us to this day. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, frankly, financially, I think, especially considering how small those teams are, they are absolute gold mines. But in terms of, public consciousness, they fall out pretty quickly. And I've got to assume, that even Among Us, which I'm sure is still very profitable since it's so cheap to make, is a tiny fraction of their height of player count.
Yeah, I've just looked up Lethal Company out of interest on the Steam charts. There are currently... The 24-hour peak for Lethal Company is 5,030 players, and the all-time peak was 241,000 players. So it would be fair to say it peaked.
5,000 players is still quite a lot. Like,
maybe that's why they called it that.
That's still quite a lot, yeah.
Yeah, it is still quite a lot.
Not bad. I mean, and since it was made by one guy, I mean, I wouldn't be complaining about it if I was him. But I think it was him. I did read something.
As one last thing, which I wanted to mention, about because, we got LB as a streamer. I'm a streamer as well. And I think, like, these games have been popular with, like, massive streamers. Like, I know, like, Hassan played Peak recently.
Little Bear played Peak.
Little Bear
played Peak as well.
I heard there were some hilarious and charismatic people on that as well.
Very charismatic and hilarious.
Was
and
that
I do
before
think
or
that,
after
like,
we were on it?
I'm not gonna. I plead the fifth.
Don't put yourself down.
But I think something about that as well is I think they're especially fun for stream because there's something as well about that parasocial experience of watching people you kind of perceive as maybe your friends or people you like a lot, also having fun with their friends and kind of feeling like you're in the room with them. And I think there's something really interesting about the parasocial experience there of we're all playing this game and having fun, silly times together. We're all going to come away from this experience with like inside jokes and memories of that like one time someone did something stupid playing Peak. And I think that's interesting as well in a way that I can't quite articulate, where I'm just like, I don't know. I'm sure you could study that at some point if you wanted to, if you were studying a psychology degree. I don't know.
Yeah. It feels like it's a fruitful avenue for research.
I will recommend one game to you guys, which is got FRIENDSLOP elements just in the case and for a future podcast, which I definitely think you guys should sink some time into if you have time, is Grounded. Grounded is like
Oh, yeah.
probably
Grounded,
one
yeah.
of my favorite. I wouldn't say. I mean, I guess it's multiplayer, like cooperative games that I've ever played.
I'm surprised
I
that
have.
you've never
When I
played it on
first started
stream, have
streaming,
you?
it was one of the
Have
first
you played
games
it
I
on
played. I
stream?
played it with Volo and Fizz
Oh,
and
wow,
Viewer at
okay.
the time.
There's a
as
sequel
Viewer.
out now.
Yes, and I can't wait to play that with the same group. It is like
Mm.
it's one of the most like fun games I've ever played, but it has all of those friend slop elements in it with, let's just say, a bit of Minecraft, but then also a lot of plot, and it's just it's really, really good. It's a game that deserves a lot more love, I think.
Unfortunately, it is owned by Microsoft, so it's currently under
Okay.
BDS.
Well,
but maybe
yeah.
when it comes off that, if
Yeah,
ever,
yeah.
give it a go. I'm sure that's
Yeah,
life.
no, of
Unfortunately,
course.
yeah. On that less fun note, maybe we should wrap up. Before we've got to keep it light.
Yeah.
Got to keep it light.
For sure. And these games are very cheap, so there's loads of them you
Yeah,
can buy.
yeah.
You know, you can
Yeah.
shop till you drop, and then come back and listen to us, and
Mhm.
we'll be your one-stop shop for
Yeah,
FriendSlop.
yeah.
Let's go, Alex.
Wow, that was a lot of up noises.
One
I
thing
love
I
that.
tried to
Almost
do
like
on stream
Blops.
actually was peak
Almost
because I
like
tried
Blops.
to do a solo peak,
Blops.
and I literally just like I gave up like on the second level.
Oh God, it's so hard.
Me too.
I rage
But
quit
it was
so
the previous
early.
second level before they changed it.
Some people
Yeah,
find it like really meditative.
I would like to be the kind of person that
Yeah.
could do that, but it turns into a Podian game
Ah,
where essentially
be like
the
that when I
enemy is
grow up.
you and your impatience. So, like, yeah, exactly.
That's too much like my own life. I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to climb an insurmountable mountain called capitalism right now.
Wow.
So.
We brought it back to the
Wow.
politics, baby.
Well, I guess it's like going for a walk or like hiking or exercise or anything like that. It's so much easier if you've got someone else to do
Yeah.
it with. You know,
Mm.
there's that element in it as well.
That's a better quote to leave that section
Yeah,
off.
that's true. That's true. That's true. That's true.
So much
I think
easier to
I think
do
we
it
should
with.
wrap up while the
friend.
going's good. Okay, and that was our Friend Slop special section. Hope you got all your slop out, slopped out.
God, I don't want to have that conversation after we had the toilet paper conversation. That's
We had
so
a toilet
hard.
paper conversation off mic in the break that you didn't
Or
know
will
we
it
were
be off
taking,
mic?
dear
Now
listener.
maybe we have to include it.
Maybe at the end as a treat, okay? You know?
Yeah, have it as at the end, like a post credits.
Yeah,
we
you know?
named
you
names
can't
of
skip
real
the news.
people, so we can't do that. We can't do that.
Do post credits after the theme music. Okay, go ahead. Which did you know, LB, that the theme music is by Brilliant Drink?
It is.
I love the
The theme
podcast.
music is by Brilliant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Brilliant Drink is just doing everything. Oh
Just
my
so
word.
talented, doing everything.
Most
so talented.
prominently,
Brilliant
the
Drink
music
made
to this
me-
podcast.
Have you guys? Okay, just a switch aside, which you can.
Go for it, go
But
for
do you guys know about the Kirk slider?
Oh,
Yes.
the face replacement
Yes.
of Charlie Kirk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But then Brilliant Drink made one for me, in particular, the Hassan slider, which
Oh,
is
I
the same
see.
concept, but it's instead of every single time his, because there's a meme in Hassan's community where he's like, he's got a very small head
Small.
Very
compared
small
to
head.
Swelled
to his
head.
body.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's another one.
Wow,
But yeah,
even
Brilliant Drink just does
Are
everything.
we on pod right now, or is this still break?
this can be pods.
Well,
just
hey,
gonna be pod.
man, it can be whatever you want it to be. We don't live by rules. We're free and easy.
Okay.
Uh,
I'll leave that up to the editor.
but we are going to be moving on to the news.
Yeah.
Sorry, editor.
First couple of very quick. These aren't actual news segments, but they are just little morsels. Our good friend Little Bear has one, but I also have one. And that is that since our last episode, Black Ops 7 came out. Now, we haven't been talking about this because it's on BDS, and also it doesn't look very interesting to my eyes. But as a bit of a continuation from our very first episode, I wanted to check, has game journalism finally done its job? Have they lived up to their promise and their responsibilities? And have any of them provided a review of the new Black Ops with the subheading, "Is Blops Tops or Plops?" And I am sorry to say that none of them have.
None of them have.
Yet again, an indictment on the entire industry. Unbelievable. We will check in on this when the next Black Ops game comes out. Maybe in like 6 months' time.
Every time.
Every time, forever.
Every year.
If
Every anniversary,
the
we will
podcast-
ask, is Blops Flop?
If the podcast ends, I will put out special episodes by myself just to discuss this issue. I'm never going to drop it. As long as the Black Ops franchise exists, I will need to find out is blops, tops, or plops. Anyway, moving on. Moving on from that incredibly crucial fact. Little Bear, what's this little bit of news morsel you have to share?
I have a very small little news morsel that I saw scrolling on Twitter, and I was like, this is insane. Obviously, I'm pretty sure you guys, I don't know if you have discussed Roblox and like how
We have.
harrowing and evil of a company it is.
It's come up. They're awful.
They
I
are
recommend
awful.
everyone
Yeah,
watch the very
unbelievably
long People
exploitative.
Make Games videos about it. They're
Yes.
very comprehensive.
Yeah, that very, very good. But apparently, I think it is the Roblox CEO. Hold on. Bakuski. But essentially, hold on, let me just quickly see. Yeah. Roblox CEO David Bazuki. Okay, not Bakuski, sorry. I can't really read. But happens when you're a professional
Can't
streamer.
read. And a leftist.
But essentially there was some sort of press conference because they are being sued specifically in the state of Texas. But it says, I'll just read the article. At one point, Bazuki was asked, how do you think of the problem of predators on Roblox? To which he replied, the CEO replied, we think of it not necessarily as just a problem, but an opportunity as well.
Very, very wise.
Which, like,
Very
how
wise.
Did he elaborate?
He went
An
on
opportunity
to
for
deny
what?
that Roblox was somewhere predators go to find kids, even though what you might read in the news would portray it that way. I mean, we all know about Club Penguin. Of course, if you don't have guardrails, like, yeah, there's going to be people trying to, like, be weird with kids on these sites. Like, that's just the reality.
Opportunity.
Like,
I just want to know what he
my
meant by
word.
opportunity. Because I'm
An
like, opportunity for
opportunity
what?
as well.
Like, genuinely for what? I cannot think of an answer to that. Like, what kind of opportunity? What do you mean?
I mean, look,
This was part of an interview, and he did waffle a lot. I did watch the whole interview myself. It was mainly just corporate nonsense, but it was a kind of crazy thing to say.
Yeah, like corporate nonsense, like
he also-
pedophiles present an opportunity.
He also suggested later on in the interview, like kind of out of nowhere, he starts talking about Polymarket, the
Gambling site.
the gambling thing where you could bet on
Gamble
like
on anything.
news stuff and all that. And he just suggested that he might implement Polymarket into
That's
Roblox.
insane.
You know,
It's a
the
children's
platform
game.
for children. Yeah.
What are we doing?
I know.
My
Bro,
word. I
He's a
don't-
weird guy.
Weird is an understatement. That's
Yeah,
maybe
I was just trying to think
maybe
of,
a compliment.
I don't know. Maybe what he did misword or something, or like, again, and maybe if this podcast, becomes very popular, I'm going to say this allegedly, just in case. I know you get sued. But maybe,
Thanks.
like the
Thank
stereotype
you. I appreciate
of like,
that.
yes, like allegedly, my assumption would be like he's probably just on coke, but like, and it's just like
Yeah.
seeing every single thing through the lens of like a stock market, which is like,
You just cannot
Raytheon
stop seeing
stock is
dollar
going up
signs.
today, like, yeah.
Presents
So,
an opportunity.
I don't know.
As I said, I saw the interview and he seemed pretty calm all the way through. He didn't seem like he was on coke. I think he's just high on a drug called capitalism. That's satire, baby.
Nice. Social commentary.
Mhm.
Hello. My name is Alex.
Well,
Social commentary is a literary device.
yeah. Shall we move on from our morsels of news onto our big old main courses of news? First up,
Yeah, don't undersell it either.
is going to be Ed with some big events in the games industry.
Yes, I'm going to talk about the Steam hardware that they announced on the 12th of November. Steam announced 3 new pieces of hardware: the Steam Frame VR headset, the Steam Machine, and a new Steam controller, all of them due to be released in 2026. As I recently bought a Steam Deck and also I own a VR headset, I thought it'd be interesting to talk about these new offerings. So I'm going to go in order of what I am least interested in to what I'm most interested in. So predictably, I'm going to start with the controller. I saw the Steam controller. So I saw images that leaked of this controller maybe a week or something before it came out, and I thought it was fake because it looks exactly how you would imagine a controller for the Steam Deck to look. It basically looks like the Steam Deck, but if you take out the screen in the middle and then push it together.
Yeah.
It's got the trackpads is sort of the most notable thing to look at it. From everything I can see, it seems relatively well thought out. I haven't really seen many people with much hands-on experience of it. they claim it's going to have minimal dead zones and a good battery life and all that kind of stuff. The only stuff that I've heard from people who have had hands-on demos with it is they talked about the haptics being pretty good. And the other notable thing about it is it comes with a little puck that you can use to connect it to things. And I think it also charges it. I mean, I can definitely see the appeal of this controller.
Yeah.
As I say, I've got a Steam Deck. I play games that require trackpads quite a bit. I also play with the Steam Deck plugged into my TV quite a bit. And up till now, ne'er the two shall meet because obviously I don't have trackpads. So this would solve a little problem in my life. But as we're going to refer to with all three of these things, the critical question is, how much is this going to cost?
I will say,
that's really what I've got to say on the Steam controller.
I will say, I think it's quite ugly. I think it probably is very useful, but also it reminds me of functional. Yeah, I also think it looks a lot like, this is maybe just only me is going to appreciate this, but it looks quite a lot like the joypad for the Atari Jaguar. In that it's all kind of jammed up at the top, and it's got a big chunk at the bottom, which is in the Jaguar was just for a number pad for some reason. But in this is trackpads. I know, it's just a weird thing to take inspiration from.
Yeah, it is ugly, but it's ugly.
It is ugly.
I kind of don't mind that it's ugly.
Yeah, I mean,
it feels like it would be functional.
I don't particularly care about that, but yeah, it's a bit ugly. I mean, I would say
you know what I like about it is that I've always hated how Xbox controllers have that like asymmetric thing. I like that it's more copying the PlayStation controller than and it's cool. I guess it's also apparently called R1 and R2. Which I much prefer to like RB whatever the
LB.
fuck
RB,
nonsense. Okay, all right. Absolute nonsense.
Lay
The
down
only
the law.
LB I approve of is the one that's in this podcast. I don't want any LBs on my controller.
Someone has the cojones to say it. Only on the Red Barrels podcast.
Sophie.
I did actually see this sent to me by my chat, and I saw the controller. And the one thing that I just I remember pausing the video and being so frustrated with was the little puck for charging. I was like, why? Why do we need a separate kind of thing to charge a separate new kind of thing? Can we please just all just use
it is just USB-C, isn't it? Like,
no.
I think it can take USB-C, but there is a little puck that you can just leave it on it.
Come on. That's just the EU's not gonna like that.
Yeah, it's just very
EU's gonna have none of that.
Frustrating. I wish the EU would care, but you know, they used to. But it's no worry. It's anyway, but I think you can still charge it with USB-C. But yeah, regardless, honestly, my opinion on all of these things is like, wait until a company like 8BitDo makes a copy, because they're always 10 times better. Like,
that's fair.
So, you know, I probably will not be
for me, it depends on the price, I think.
Yeah.
So let's turn to the second and maybe more interesting piece of hardware.
The Cube.
Maybe not. The Cube.
The Gabe
The
Cube.
Steam machine, the Game Cube, the Gabe Cube, all of that jazz. Yes. Basically, I've not got too much to say on this either, to be honest. It's basically a mid-end gaming PC running SteamOS. You can buy it with or without the controller. It's got a very small form factor. It's quite a distinct look, I would say. Again, it's kind of ugly in like a pleasing way, I would say. Like, I quite like how it looks, but it kind of is ugly. I'm not sure if that's a hot take or not.
I like the idea. Like, yeah,
I think it looks
the
cool,
Game
but it's
Cube. I like
still
the idea of a little cube console. I think that in itself is quite cool.
People already seem to be interested in like ways of customizing it, putting their own little pictures on the cubes. And it's basically, small form factor that can fit in most places. And it's basically going to be a PC that's easier to buy and run than having a regular PC. Yeah. They say that they've made it with a focus on making it as easy as possible for the devs to optimize their games for it, same as they've done with the deck. So my first thought with this was sort of, who is this for? And I was trying to think like who the target audience with this would be. And I think there is one. I think it's for people who PC game, but they're not like, they wouldn't identify as a PC gamer with a capital P, a capital C, and a capital G. You know what I mean? They just sort of game a little bit on the PC, like casual PC gamers, or maybe console gamers who are thinking about what they're going to get for the next generation, which we're sort of expecting that to be maybe 2027. And from what we've seen so far, it looks like the Xbox is going to be very expensive when that comes out, and we don't really know what the PlayStation are going to do yet. So if there might be people who bounce off for the next console generation, is sort of the feeling out there, especially like dedicated Xbox people might be looking for a new video game home. And I think those people, this could fill that niche in the market quite well. already people are acting as though it's literally just going to be a console. I mean, it seems more like a PC experience than a console experience in some ways, and more console-y in others. My only issue with it right now is I think we're still in a period where the Steam Deck is powerful enough to play most games that come out, and I suspect this is going to be more expensive than a Steam Deck, probably by a reasonable amount. So I think for a lot of people, for the next like maybe year or two, the Steam Deck might be a more appealing proposition. Like, it gives you the easy access to Steam for not that much money. You can plug it in very easily and play from your sofa like a games console.
Yeah.
So for the time being, I think its main competitor is probably one of Valve's other products, which I guess is a good situation for them to have. But maybe in a couple of years, the Steam Deck gets more and more out of date hardware-wise. You know, this is assuming they don't release another one. Maybe at that point, the Steam machine will come into its own. The Valve have said that they've aimed this at being in the top, the 70th percentile of PC strength across Steam. So like it's stronger, it's more powerful than 70% of the PCs that access Steam. So that's kind of an interesting ballpark to have in your head for to contextualize how powerful this is going to be.
Well, I mean,
what were you going to say,
the
Alex?
thing is that's a bit deceptive in that most people who use Steam have very low power PCs, because like the hardware guys, your digital foundries and so on, have analyzed this, and the general consensus is this is less powerful than a PlayStation 5. Maybe not by much. People say it's kind of between a Xbox Series S and a PlayStation 5, maybe in the middle there. But like, it's less than a PlayStation 5. And when they talked about how much it's going to cost, they haven't given prices for any of these items we're going to talk about. But in this one, they said it's going to be priced like a PC. And they said this quite, not a console. They said that quite pointedly. So I think it's clearly going to be, at minimum, more expensive than a PlayStation 5. So I don't really see, if you want to play games on your TV, and there's already a box that can do that, and it's going to be more powerful and cheaper, I don't really see much of a point of this. I think there is an audience, like people who have like huge Steam libraries that they just want to play on their PC, and they've already got that, so they kind of bought into the ecosystem. But I don't really, like, a lot of people online have been super excited about the Steam machine. There's like a huge amount of hype about it. People are saying, "Oh, it's going to kill Xbox," and I think that's an easy prediction to make when it looks like Xbox was getting killed without the Steam
Xbox
machine
has killed itself
in the
without
first place, you know?
Steam.
With no help.
Yeah, so it may well do that, but I think people have like way overinflated expectations of how this is going to do. Like, the Steam Deck is a great machine. I don't have one, but I know, Ed, you like it, and it's a lot of people love it. It's great by many standards, it seems, but that has, in comparison to like quote unquote real consoles, it's like a blip. There are the estimates for how many Steam Decks have been sold. There aren't clear numbers because Valve is privately owned. They don't release the numbers, but their estimates are that it's about 4 million units. For comparison, the Wii U, which is considered to be a massive failure, that sold 18.5 million. So in comparison to like the big consoles, it's just nothing. It doesn't count. I think the Switch 2 might have outsold that in its first day, probably by quite a lot.
I would say, like, just from the concept of being like a streamer, like, I definitely will not be getting this, because I have the same perception of like, it's just like, just get a PC, because the thing is, like, this hardware is going to get out of date and you won't be able to like replace something and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like you only bought a PC for gaming. You know what I mean? That's the feeling I sort of have with it. But what it does make me think, because in particular with regards to like the reason why we all have Switches, for instance, I do think that it's valid to purchase a Switch just to be able to play the last 2 Zelda games because they're that good. But but
Sure, yeah.
regardless, like, I think we might be seeing like more Steam exclusives in particular that are not available on like the PlayStation or Xbox or anything like that, or any other platform.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I just don't see this as being particularly
What you might be
like,
alluding to there is that there are also massive rumors that Half-Life 3 is imminent to be announced finally,
this
really,
time.
for sure, for real this time. Yeah, I mean, is that true? I mean, the Game Awards are like next week or something, or in 2 weeks' time. We can't go an episode certainly not our anniversary episode without mentioning patron saint of the show, Jeff Keighley. And I'm sure we will be commenting on the Game Awards when that happens. That seems like that might be a place where Half-Life 3 would get announced if it were to get announced around about now. Although I have also heard that the rumors say it won't be there and it'll be a separate thing, whatever. But that might be a thing, like an exclusive game they can put on their Steam machine, I suppose. But I think outside of games Valve makes, if you want to play like AAA games, they are all going to turn up on console. And if you want to play like smaller indie games, you can do that on a Steam Deck for less money, and it's portable. So I think there is a use case for. I think there is a market for this, but I don't think it's going to be anything like a lot of people are extremely excited about.
I think that it's unlikely that they will make a Steam machine or even Steam exclusive or a Steam machine exclusive game. Certainly, I don't think that's really been Valve's modus operandi. So I don't.
Well,
think
I just think like if they make Half-Life 3, it might be exclusive to Steam, and like there won't be any console versions of it. And if you want to play on a TV, maybe the Steam machine is the easiest way to do that.
The other thing is, it all is going to come down to the price, I think, basically. And we're speculating on the price. In the interview that I've seen with people from Valve, they were saying that they are going to price this. The hint was that they're going to price it at about the amount that it would cost to build this PC from scratch if you were buying it yourself, if you were making it yourself. So we're probably talking, from the hints, the rumors, what people have been talking about, maybe like sort of £700 or something is probably what they're going to price at. We don't know how much it's going to cost. We also don't know how much the next console generations are going to cost. But from the Xbox hints, it seems like it's going to be probably at least that amount, if not more. If PlayStation followed suit and it was another high price, well, then that's when the Steam machine begins to look quite appealing in comparison to other consoles, because it gives you access to this very highly developed ecosystem, which has got very affordable games and is much more open than PlayStation.
Yeah, but like,
sorry, what were you going to say, Little?
Well, I was just going to say, but it's less powerful than the PlayStation 5 that exists now. So it's going to be way less powerful than the new consoles, even if they're very expensive. And that's my issue.
No problem.
Sorry.
One thing I will find interesting, and this is particularly from a perspective of someone living in the global south, a lot of the time, things like Nintendo, all of those sorts of things, they don't price to the audience. In South Africa, we very much pay more than people would generally pay in the West because of import costs. So I know that Valve, with regards to Steam, it generally has, the Steam Deck did not have this. So this is very much a slight chance of where they could be aiming it, because that applies to computer parts as well. So for me, building my PC was like 20% more expensive than it would have been if I was in the UK. Okay. And also remember, like, the spending part of the rand. So the vastly more expensive machines to make. But games on Steam are much cheaper for me. The Steam Deck was like a rare case. So I wonder if this is maybe one of the reasons why it could be successful, is if the price is pitched to global south countries, because there are a lot of games here, in a way where it is like affordable comparatively, and to building a PC, in which case I think it'll be very, very, very successful, in the same way that the PlayStation Portable was really successful in global south countries the world over, which it wasn't as much something that people would see in the West.
My brother had a PSP.
So that could be another thing. I'm not sure.
It's worth pointing out also that like the past week, RAM prices have like skyrocketed. They like doubled in the space of like a day, because a bunch of AI data centers are being opened, and they're just going to hoover up computer parts.
Shouts out to anyone just building a PC. Like, shouts out to you. Sorry.
Rip.
I mean, genuinely, they're saying like, maybe it's probably people who would like to sell PC components in the next week or so. Probably Black Friday is your best time to do that, because it's going to jump up right after. Yeah. Anyway, why don't you tell us the third of these exciting announcements?
I would love to, Alex. The final piece of hardware they announced is the Steam Frame, which is a VR headset from Valve. It's kind of the sequel to their 2019 Valve Index, which was the sort of go-to premium VR headset for a lot of people for quite a while after it came out. That cost basically $1,000, $999 at launch. So there's been speculation about Valve releasing another VR headset brewing for quite a long time, especially because the Valve Index ended up occupying this spot as sort of a go-to but premium product. The differences with the Valve Index is that it's a wireless headset, meaning you don't have to play it plugged into your computer. Also, unlike the Index, it uses cameras in the headset to do the tracking of where you are rather than separate base stations. Which is sort of generally considered less reliable, but it's also cheaper and easier to do it in the camera. So it's also not that deep. Like the only time I've ever done VR was in camera. So like it's not like it's perfectly functional. Like no one's going to notice a problem with it if they're not already like deeply in the games, the VR game sector. And basically all headsets are doing it these days. So both of these things are more in line with what Oculus and then Meta have done with the Quest headsets. But this seems more like it's going to be a PC VR headset that can do standalone play, while the Quest is a standalone headset that can do PC VR, especially because the Steam frame is coming bundled with a Wi-Fi dongle, which is you're going to plug in and it's going to connect directly to your headset, basically to reduce the chance of any interference and any latency. I'm really interested to see how that performs. I haven't got a dedicated dongle, and when I stream PC VR games, it's basically unplayable. It just doesn't really work. So I only ever play PC VR wired. So if this ends up being a solution to that problem, that would be very interesting because it is much more appealing to play untethered.
Apparently you can do it, but you need like a very special router with like Wi-Fi 6. It was like the absolute highest Wi-Fi thing. That's quite rare.
Yeah, you can do that. Like that is an improvement. I did try it through. Not through that, but through there's like various options you can try of different like bands that make it a bit better. What the real hardcore VR people do is they buy a separate router and then you play dedicated to that. But this is obviously much less of a hassle than doing that. And that's not something you can really sell to consumers. The specs of this device are quite similar to the Quest 3. It's got a very similar screen resolution and refresh rate. It's basically 2.1K per eye with an LCD panel with a 72 Hz default setting, and it can go up to 144 Hz in experimental modes. Some people seem to be a bit disappointed by this, basically because the Valve Index was sort of higher relatively spec-wise than the Quest was at the time. The Quest 1 was the relevant Quest at the time. But for me, again, it all comes back to the price. If this is going to be priced similarly to the Quest 3, then I don't really mind if the specs are kind of similar to the Quest 3. If they're hoping to price this at closer to the $1,000 mark that the Valve Index was at, then that would look a bit more problematic. And I personally would rather it was a cheaper, less powerful device because I don't know about you guys, but I'm not dropping £1,000 on anything gaming related, basically. So I can't afford that. There are some things missing from the Steam frame, which are included in a lot of headsets these days. Basically, there's not going to be any mixed reality element to this. It's not got a color pass through, so which means when you've got the headset on, if you look at, you can make it so you can see the real world, but in the Steam frame, the real world will only be in black and white. So there's not going to be any games based around seeing the real world, unlike the Quest 3 and lots of other headsets these days, which have made that a bigger feature. It also won't have any hand tracking, which is when you can control the VR headset using literally just your hand without the controller at all. But personally, I've always found this to be quite a gimmicky feature in headsets that I've used, so I wouldn't really miss that. On the plus side, it does have this built-in eye tracking system, and they're going to do something that they're calling foveated streaming. There's already something that exists in the sort of VR sector called foveated rendering, where developers only render in high detail areas of the screen that your eyes are looking at. So they're tracking where you're looking and only loading in the areas that you're looking at, which is quite clever. And foveated streaming is basically, it's very similar to that. When you're streaming stuff to the headset, it's only going to be sending across those areas that you're looking at. So it's very similar, but it's, it'd still be rendering it all, but it would only be sending across the stuff that you're looking at, which basically lowers the amount of bandwidth it's going to take. It's going to make it so there's much less latency and stuff is the promise of the idea anyway. And the advantage that they say about that is it's enabled on their side, which means developers don't need to build that in. Like doesn't make it any. It makes it easier for developers to get good performance out of the headset. Is basically the idea of it. Other than that, some other novel things about it that I'll touch on is it's got a full Linux desktop environment if you're interested in that, and they're also pushing quite heavily for some. This doesn't really appeal to me, but pushing quite heavily the idea that you can play your regular flat screen games in this headset. I mean, you can already do that with most VR headsets, and I've got a VR headset, and I have to say I have never found it appealing to put that on and then sit on my sofa and play a video game. Like, I would much rather play a video game on my TV. Like, yeah, you can make the screen in your VR headset as though you've got this like massive cinema screen, but I would rather just have a smaller screen and have my face not be sweaty. Do you know what I mean? So that's not that appealing to me.
The main benefit of that whole thing is that basically they have developed, because it runs on like the internal hardware runs on, you know, a mobile chipset, which is which is ARM based, but they found a way to basically make it run Windows games essentially in a similar way that the Steam Deck can run Windows games, even though
With
it's
the
Linux.
Proton compatibility layer.
It's a similar thing. But what this means is, because like the main benefit that the Quest has is that it now has a huge library of games on their service that you might not be able to get elsewhere. But this means that this would be able to natively run a huge library of Steam VR games, which I mean, there's going to be a huge amount of crossover there of the two things. And on the older end, they should run pretty well on the device, assuming that it's powerful enough and this translation layer thing isn't too big a deal, too bad. So we'll have to see at the end. But that is quite a coup that they could have access to like a huge library of games potentially.
For sure. I just personally, the flat screen element of it, being able to play flat screen games in your VR headset is not very appealing.
They were just showing that off because that's the way to say, look, you can run Windows games like Hades. Things like that.
They also mentioned, they've used Hades too quite a lot in their advertising, haven't they? They also have noted there's a micro SD card slot in it, so if you've got a Steam Deck already, you could literally pop out your micro SD from that and put it in this headset and be immediately able to play all those games. So you know, I could see the appeal of that to some extent. It also actually has a PCIe slot, which means that people could probably like mess about with this quite a bit and make various other attachments or bits of hardware run as part of this. So it will be interesting to see what people come up with as other things to attach to this. Not something that I would personally be doing because I'm not smart enough for that. I guess the other major thing is, yes, it's a Linux desktop environment and it's based on Arch. So then you get to say that you use Arch, by the way. So that's a huge plus for a lot of people.
Good to know.
I think the other big plus is a lot of people in the VR space and also generally are a bit skeptical of Meta, me included. I think a lot of people are just excited to have a big hardware release in the VR space from anyone other than Meta. And also, we might be optimistic about the increase in VR content that this sort of implies might happen. But, you know, we'll sort of take that as it comes. Speaking of that, I referred to an interview earlier that I watched where they talked about the price, but they also asked, let me read you an approximation of the question. The question was something like, is it true you aren't working on any games for this? And they answered, yes, we aren't talking about any content for this. We have nothing to announce. Now, those are two different questions. Are you working on any games? We're not talking about any games. So to me, that implies that they're probably working on a game. And this would be good news because the last VR game that Valve put out is Half-Life Alyx, which is arguably one of the best, pretty much inarguably one of the best VR games ever made. And it's the closest thing to like a proper AAA VR game that's ever come out. So people were quite excited to hear the suggestion that kind of content might be coming.
I have heard rumors that they're going to try and get Half-Life Alyx working on the native hardware of it, which is probably a bit ambitious. That'd be cool.
That'd be interesting. So, yeah, as we've said many times, the real question with all of this is how much is this going to cost? So if we were going to speculate a little bit, I mean, probably the most popular VR headset out there right now is the Quest 3. That costs, at the moment, £470. On the other end of the spectrum, Apple released their weird mixed reality headset thing, the Vision Pro, for £3,200 last year. So my concern is, even though that's kind of cordoned off into a separate category of product, I've been a bit concerned that came out that might be an excuse to sort of inflate the market for everyone else. I'm not saying it's going to be anywhere near that expensive, but my concern was, maybe we'd see more stuff up towards that $1,000 price point that Valve was operating at with the Valve Index a few years ago. For context, in that case, the Quest 1 was the competitor. It came out at a very similar time to the Valve Index, and that cost $399. So given that it's got similar specs to the Quest 3, my guess is it's going to be somewhere between the Quest 3's price point and the Index's price point. I reckon it's going to be somewhere in that like £600, £700 category. And I hope it's cheaper because I would be unlikely personally to buy it if it was as expensive as that. I think that there'd be much more if they priced it very close, just like slightly above the Quest 3, then that would be big, and I think it might become like one of the most popular headsets on the market. If it's too much higher than that, I think it will be something more for like niche. Like, I mean, obviously VR is relatively niche anyway, but people who are like already pretty into VR, I don't think you convince many people to start VR with anything that costs more than £400-ish personally. Like that's a big investment on a new category of thing you've never bought before. And yeah, I think I already alluded to this with the Steam Machine. Yeah, no, I already said this. They said they're going to be competing cost-wise with someone buying the parts and building a PC themselves. So yeah, we're probably looking at a kind of a similar price range for that. And also worth noting, all of these things are going to continue to only be purchasable directly from Steam for most countries. It's not true in every country. I believe in South Korea and in Japan there are other ways you can buy them, but in most places it's directly from Steam. That's the only way you can buy them, and that seems to be their business model moving forward as well. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to have a strong opinion on any of this stuff without seeing those price points. This could go from anywhere from like a steal to why would anyone buy this unless they're like filthy rich. But I think the hardware in itself, if we assumed their price like somewhat competitively, I think they're all quite interesting products. I think they could all have their niche. The Steam Machine, maybe the least of all in terms of where the niche is. That really depends on the console costs of the next generation. And the Steam Frame, I'm just happy to see more big boys in the VR space, to be honest. I mean, it's, obviously Valve's not their first rodeo, but it's been quite a long time since the Index. So yeah, I'm sure I was not the only one. It seemed that it's been the talk of the internet. There's been quite a lot of buzz about these products, which is interesting. They've done quite a good job of pitching this as like big news in the gaming industry, even though these are all relatively niche products when you sit down and think about it. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see when we learn more. I'm sure we'll keep you updated.
Yeah. That's the Valve excitement of the Valve Touch. I'm sure we're all excited for that. But we are going to move on to the next subject, which is going to be Sophie.
Yeah. So I'm just going to be talking about the sort of some of the updated Rockstar news. I basically got most of this information from a video by People Make Games.
Friend of the show. Friend of the show. The title
they
don't know it yet, but they are.
Yeah, one-sided friendship, but it'll eventually become a two-sided friendship. One day.
I mean, like, aren't they also, like, based in the UK? Like, 10 people that live there? Like, it's,
Yeah, like, we like, well,
we know them.
Two of us have met them.
No, you should
we just never mentioned the podcast.
Just mention the podcast.
Okay, all right.
We got plans. We were percolating, but they just hadn't happened yet.
At People Make Games, I got most of this information, I'm summarizing it from their latest YouTube video, the messages Rockstar saw before firing 34 union members. So I'm just going to be sort of summarizing the findings that they had after interviewing a couple of people involved, some people from the IWGB, and then also, some of the people who were fired, and also just people who knew some information about it. So basically, for those of you who don't know, just to catch everyone up, Rockstar fired 34 union members for quote-unquote gross misconduct, according to them.
Boo.
But for what the workers are describing as union busting, which seems, allegedly pretty obvious. There have been protests outside of Rockstar headquarters, including in London and in Edinburgh, since the decision. So Rockstar says employees were, quote, distributing and discussing information in a public forum, a violation of our company policies, unquote, and that it was, quote, in no way related to people's right to join a union or engage in union activities, unquote. But we will, after the sort of details that we've learnt from this video in particular, that gets more and more suspicious. So with over 300 members at its peak, basically there's this Discord server, which is the public forum in question, okay? So with over 300 members at its peak,
just
the
so
Discord server...
just so our listeners know, Sophie did like quote marks with her fingers when she said public forum.
Yeah.
Want people to know that.
Yeah. So basically, they said that they were... Well, I did say quote unquote earlier, distributing and discussing information in a public forum, right? So The Discord server, which is being referred to as a public forum here, again, quote unquote, has been running since 2022 and was a way for basically people interested in joining the Rockstar Union to find out more information about the union. And membership was limited to Rockstar employees or Independent Workers Union of Great Britain, hereforth referred to as IWGB, representatives. So contrary to being a public forum, the Discord access seemed quite tightly regulated. Rockstar employees in particular, they also had to own, and I imagine the IWGB representatives also had to prove their identity, basically, and then only they were accepted into the Discord group. So pretty tightly regulated. Discussions in the union Discord revolved largely around workers comparing their material conditions and would help members decide whether or not they were interested in joining the union. And, important for the story, joining a union is a protected right under UK employment law. So some information about what is believed to have happened according to People Make Games. Rockstar had recently, this is basically a timeline of what happened. Rockstar had recently announced, basically in the second week of October, some changes to its internal Slack policy, most notably banning the use of miscellaneous channels that Rockstar described as quote-unquote distracting, though they didn't really cite any evidence for that. The formal communication for this change was sent after 5 p.m. UK time, as in outside of normal UK working hours. Because Rockstar has been the center of several leaks over the years, employees can only access their company emails at the office. And I think that timeline is important. We will see why. Rockstar employees that were part of the union Discord began sharing parts of the emails in the general chat outside of working hours, because obviously some people had gotten email, some people hadn't, but either way, they would have turned up to work the next morning and seen the email. So they were sharing parts of the email in this union Discord. And there is speculation that it was this specific action of sharing parts of the email that kicked off an investigation into the Discord. The Slack policy changes and the discussions around it happened in the second week of October, and then the fired employees had been fired by the end of October. So it does seem to sort of line up that's basically what Rockstar is using as an excuse to have fired these employees. But yeah, all of these employees do happen to be unionized, and it was part of a union server, just a coincidence, so it does seem pretty suspicious. Some of the workers had been working at Rockstar for 8+ years, and they were basically walked out of the office on the day of the firings without an opportunity to say goodbye to colleagues or to collect their belongings. So, some of these people had sort of been working here for ages and then giving such a disrespectful send-off as well. Yeah, basically the IWGB has launched 2 legal claims now against Rockstar, including applying for interim relief, which could get the workers either reinstated or supported financially, and for a hearing where more substantive arguments surrounding the case can be made. And they're hoping that the interim relief will sort of support workers until the hearing can happen, because those sometimes takes months, years to happen, etc. So that's what the IWGB are currently applying for. But yeah, again, thank you to People Who Make Games for doing such excellent work surrounding the issue and gaming and news more generally. Like we said in the last episode, I've been seeing TikToks and lots of social media about this particular coverage, even though I'd never actually interacted with People Make Games on some of those social media feeds. So it's just really impressive, like how it's kind of branching out and how they're drawing a lot of attention to it and doing a lot of good reporting on it, which is nice. But yeah, this section that I just read is basically mostly my summarizing of their YouTube video, which I highly recommend. Again, title of the YouTube video was released on 24th November 2025, so yesterday. The messages Rockstar saw before firing 34 union members. It's a great video. Yeah, pretty damning.
Yeah,
pretty
it's
damning
bad.
for Rockstar.
It's worth pointing out that it wasn't just union members on that Discord server. So the fact that
there was
it
also
happened to be that all the fired members were union members.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, there was
I'm
like
just
people
asking
who weren't in the
questions,
union who were just there to investigate a union, who weren't in the union. And again, it had over 300 members. Some of them were part of the union, some of them weren't. Some of them were from the IWGB, so weren't even associated with Rockstar.
Very strange.
And again, it's a protected legal right in UK employment law. They have a right to investigate and also join a union. So yeah, just a little bit suspicious.
Just such a weird coincidence.
Just such a
What are the
weird
odds?
coincidence.
What are the odds? And there have been, as you mentioned, there have been quite a lot of leaks. Well, not loads, but there have been quite a few leaks over the years of GTA 6. And we haven't seen this kind of mass firing before for them.
Strange.
It's probably just a coincidence that
So
it's happened on
strange.
there.
When the
So
incredibly
strange.
incendiary and of high public interest information on Rockstar's internal Slack policy. You know,
It's
incredibly
just so
incendiary.
it's very
that had
it's
to
very
be punished.
interesting that the game company with like some of the highest profits that they've ever seen from video games, and also some of the most like well-reported, most toxic work cultures out of all of the gaming sort of developing companies that exist, also just so happen to have these leaks which no one get punished for. But then also they get to crack down more on how employees communicate with each other. That's a really interesting coincidence that sort of gives them
They
those
keep racking up.
extra, powers to do
What
so.
an interesting sequence of events.
It's also worth
I
saying out that.
actually have a
Sorry, go for it.
question.
Mm.
No worries. I have a question. This is just because of obviously all of you are based in the UK. How good are UK courts on enforcing the rights of unions compared to across the pond America, where
I mean, I feel like we have better union culture here
like
than the
In America,
States does,
yeah.
but I don't. Yeah,
No, that's an extremely low bar. We've got
But that is a
worse
low
union
bar,
culture
exactly.
than most other places, certainly in Europe.
yeah, no, yeah. It's just it is something where I look at the UK and everything coming out there with regards to courts at the moment is very depressing.
Yeah.
So I do apart from kneecap, but regardless,
like
so
mainstream.
I know that there's a lot of cross consciousness in the UK, but I don't really know about how receptive courts are to defending union rights.
I don't know about courts. I really don't actually know about courts myself. I don't know about you
I'm
guys.
not a big enough expert. I will say we have been talking to the IWGB about getting someone from there on, and it would be cool if that happened. And maybe it will. And we could probably talk to them about this sort of thing more authoritatively than we could speak to. But I mean, yeah, in general, we're better than America and worse than everyone else. That's a pretty good rule of thumb.
I have a
And that
bias.
applies to the courts as well.
Yeah. I have a biased, obviously, customer base, but, I work at a radical bookshop, and we do have a 10% union discount. So, I ask, at the end of every transaction, are you a student or a member of a union? And I feel like most of the UK customers that we have are usually part of some kind of union. Obviously, we have leftist clientele, so that is 100%.
I think that's
picking.
a very tilted clientele. I don't, I think if you went,
No, 100%.
if you had a
100%, but I
sandwich
just
shop
mean,
and you asked that, I don't think you'd get a similar result.
yeah, but I mean, we also get, UK, we get workers who are also like, oh, no, I wish, when they work in an industry that isn't unionized. So I also feel like, I don't know. And then almost always when I have customers from the US and I ask if you're a union, they're like, no, I'm from the US. Of course I don't. And I'm like, okay.
Good accent there. You got it.
And I always feel bad asking them. Thank you.
I'm very
Thank you
impressed.
so much.
It's worth saying that there were also some questions asked in Parliament about this. I believe from Rockstar North's local MP, who I think is a Lib Dem. So I'm a little impressed by that. That a Lib Dem would do that. I don't think anything came of it, but that is a progression at least. And it does suggest that I think that Rockstar may have underestimated the level of interest in this, which is hopefully good news. Yeah, hopefully there will be a good outcome for this for those fired employees. Yeah, I think that's all we can really hope for, really. All right, moving on to our last item, which is going to be mine. And I'm sorry again, we did this 2 episodes ago as well, to end on a bit of a downer, which is a very sad death. Unfortunately, on November 17th, Rebecca Heinemann, also known as Burger Becky, died. She's kind of an interesting figure in the games industry. She was around from the olden days. She was 62 when she died, so not someone we might generally associate with the games industry, but she started off when she was young, and she actually became the first ever American national video game champion when she won a championship in Space Invaders for the Atari 2600. But she was then able to kind of leverage this into an actual career in programming games, and she was one of the founders of Interplay, who made the Fallout games, the original Fallout games, as well as many others, and then had quite a storied career in the games industry. She's kind of become known in more recent years because she had a YouTube channel, and she just appeared on a bunch of podcasts and stuff to talk about kind of retro game stuff. Mainly that she helped port a bunch of old games. She famously ported the 3DO version of Doom, which is also notoriously a terrible port. But this was because she had like 6 weeks to do it in. She had some very entertaining stories about that. She worked on some of the old Bard's Tale games. I think she was a lead designer on Bard's Tale 3. So she had design chops as well. So she's not like a huge figure, but she became quite a beloved figure. And so people are very sad to see her go. Sponsors here from Brian Fargo, who was also one of the founders of Interplay. Rebecca Heinemann sadly passed away, known her since the 80s when I drove to work. One of the most brilliant programmers around. A real gut punch earlier today when she messaged me. We have gone on so many adventures together, but into the great unknown I go first. Worth saying, it seems, died of very quickly onsetting cancer. She found out about it in October. She posted a GoFundMe because she's in America and needed help funding her treatment. But then within like a few weeks, she announced that, she's been given terminal cancer, and she asked that it be turned into a funder for her funeral. And quite very soon after that, she sadly died. There was also Josh Sawyer, who is a known figure. He worked on Fallout New Vegas, and a bunch of other beloved games. Pentiment, which we talked about.
I love Pentiment.
He noted Rebecca was one of the founders of Interplay and programmed and designed some of the most influential games of my youth, notably Bard's Tale 1 and 3, and Wasteland. She'll be missed. And Chris Avallone, who's something of a controversial figure, but he also gave quite nice message. Less nice. So something I haven't mentioned about Rebecca is that she is one of, if not the most prominent trans woman in the games industry, or maybe was, I should say now, sadly. She transitioned in like the early 2000s, really putting pay to the idea that trans people are something that only appeared in the past few years. And she was married to a woman. They had 5 children together. And she was also on the board of GLAAD, GLAAD, the American Gay Rights and like Queer Rights Association. Unfortunately, John Carmack, one of the co-creators of Doom, basically gave a very long reminiscence about her on Twitter. That would be very nice if it weren't for the fact that through almost the entire amount, he misgenders her and dead names her repeatedly.
No, that's
disgusting.
intentional.
And then even when he,
that's awful.
Yeah, of course, it's intentional.
And then even when they mentioned, and then dead name became Rebecca, and then talked about it, even then he only refers to her as they, which is, she went by she unambiguously. Extremely, like, to do that in a eulogy basically is incredibly shitty.
Just don't bother.
Yeah,
then.
exactly. No one, no one was desperate to find out John Carmack's opinions on this matter. So yeah, just a genuinely horrible thing for him to have done. I will say, John Romero, the other co-creator of Doom, also I think kind of subtly responding to John Carmack, also put out his own message, which after this, like a day or two after this, which was correctly gendered. John Romero has proved himself a number of times recently to be a much better person than John Carmack. So yeah, go fuck yourself, John Carmack. And goodbye to Burger Becky, a lovely person by all accounts, and a key member of the games industry.
Oh,
I actually
thanks
have
for
a question
reporting
on that. Before you continue, you said that she was the first American to win an international games competition.
I believe so, yes.
Like the first American.
Well, the first national, not international. In America, there was like the first national games
in America.
competition, and that was her. Yeah.
Okay, it's interesting. It reminds me a lot of there's a Former guy. I can't remember exactly the video he does. The Roblox Oof, where at the end he talks a lot about
the Tommy Tallarico.
Yeah. But at the end there's a section I actually played on stream a lot about like women in games in particular, and how they've always been there.
Oh yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I think he might have mentioned her in that section. Actually, that might be
sure,
her. I can't remember.
Anyway,
it's been a while since I've seen it.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, yeah, maybe
a lot of Gamergate era, creatures that are still reminiscing of the good times where you could bully women like on the internet without any pushback. It is that is pretty profound that it was like a woman who had won that.
Yeah.
And not only like also
Yeah,
on
yeah,
top of that
yeah.
a trans
Yeah.
woman. Like, you know, so
Exactly.
it's incredible.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out to Burger Becky. I mean, you know, I'd heard her on I'm interested into like retro game stuff. You may think that Ed's the real retro game head here. No, that's just I keep that to myself. I don't broadcast it on the podcast all the time.
You better continue keeping it to yourself, Alex. I need
Keep
that
it to
push.
your
Well, I've
goddamn
got-
self.
But I listen to like the podcast Retronauts. She's been on that. I think she's done stuff with Digital Foundry as well, their retro stuff. She's just like a really cool and kind of avuncular figure for the industry, and a bunch of old cool stories, like a bunch of weird stuff around that 3DO port thing I mentioned of Doom. Yeah, so very sad to see it go. But I think that is going to be pretty much it for the 1 year anniversary of the Red Barrels podcast. I look forward to seeing you
Wow.
for the second year anniversary. I hope you enjoy the upcoming second year of the Red Barrels podcast. Then after that, third year, fourth year, fifth year, we're going to get, I think,
Fifth year's going to be a bit of a down year, I
I'm-
think.
Yeah.
That's my
aiming,
plan.
I'm aiming for 60 years of the Get Red Barrels podcast. And if Ed and Sophie don't join me for every single one of those years, they will be traitors to me personally.
All right.
And I will
okay.
be
All right.
deeply hurt. So you're locked in for 60 years. Well, 59 years. We've got one under
59.
the belt already.
One
We've
down.
got it done. We've got it done. And of course,
How old will you be in 60 years' time, Alex?
I know about 30.
Yeah.
Probably 30. I think I'm going to start
Okay.
aging backwards. I'm fairly sure it's going to start any day now. You really had to ruin
I'm
that
excited
for me,
for
didn't you, Ed?
There's a
that
very
fun
dark
joke,
news
that
segment that
fun
me and
joke.
Sophie are going to have to do one day.
No,
I wanna-
it's just ruining my evening. I'm ruining the anniversary of the Get Red Barrels podcast. You're doing this to me. I don't like it. And of course, this incredible anniversary will be nothing without our incredible guest.
Oh, thank you.
Maybe our best guest ever. I've been saying for a while that Tom Nicholas is the world's greatest human.
Throw some
And,
shade to
I mean,
Tom Nicholas.
he's got competition now. He's got competition. That's all I'll say. You know, we'll have to work
Well,
it out.
thank you.
We'll have to work it out. You're definitely in the running for world's greatest
I
human.
don't want to be in competition with anyone, but I have very much enjoyed this.
Well,
So thank you
I-
very much
we-
for,
we loved having you. We loved having you.
having me on.
Anything you want to plug?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
plug
LB.
away.
Actually, I was thinking. So I'm on Twitch, but you know what? I'm fine. I'm happy with my viewership. I did want to say for people who particularly want to like go and watch like a streamer that plays a lot of games, lots of retro games, as you were sort of saying, like someone a South African. I would like to specifically plug the Giant Ewok,
Yes.
who has been streaming on Twitch for 5 years now. And I absolutely love him. He's a wonderful, wonderful human being. Like, you can find me on Twitch, LittleBear36,
The
but like,
the giant Ewok.
I just think for a lot of game enjoyers, like, you will love the Giant Ewoks content. He is a little gem of Twitch that people like just do not know about. He's got a wonderful South African accent. He's an Indian South African as well, which is also a concept that will blow many Westerners' mind. The fact that like you know,
second
such
largest
an identity
population of Indian
exists.
people outside of India.
Yeah. But
Sorry,
anyway,
first
he's
one.
wonderful, and I just think like generally like based on what you were talking about and the things that like you know you were sort of interested in, it's so much up like Ewok Street.
He listens
so
to the podcast.
I did want to specifically
Wow,
mention
I
him.
Mm.
Yeah,
to
there we
know.
go. Well,
Hello,
there we go.
Ewok.
Like I just
Hi,
thought, like,
Ewok.
yeah,
Love you.
yeah. Anyway, so that was actually like just throughout the
Mm.
entire time I thought Ewok would love this. Maybe, you know, maybe you should have him on at some point. You know,
We'll have him on.
Maybe. Sounds
Yeah.
good. Sounds good. Yeah, well, Little Bear, such a pro to selflessly plug someone else and then just mention Little Bear 36 in there. That's the
look,
real-
I'm-
Before says a little bit.
I'm in
Yeah,
a
that's
sort of
the
position
route.
where like I'm very happy with where I am because I can pay the bills. So
Mm.
you know, when I think of the leftist gaming space, I think I don't like people who are very like selfish with regards to like hiding their audience. I'd rather like, you know, bring everybody else up because then you know everybody else benefits from that.
Dear
So,
listener,
you know,
I would
not
urge
to,
you
not to
to ignore what Little Bear just said and instead go to her Twitch channel and subscribe to her.
You can just follow. You don't have to subscribe, but
Okay.
you know, just
You do
There
have
we
to
go.
subscribe
Follow
to
both.
me.
Follow both.
I'm also.
Yes,
you have
you
to
do have
subscribe
to-
to
you-
me, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you should have already subscribed to Sophie. That goes without
already
saying.
subscribed to me.
Speaking of,
I
Wait, you're on
cannot pay the
Twitch?
bills.
What's your
Subscribe
handle
to
on
Sophie,
Twitch?
how can
Sophie?
people find you on Twitch?
Twitch.tv/so freely. I stream 3 days a week. Please subscribe to me.
And I will say, following on from our last episode, I have since listened to your song that you recently put on Spotify,
Thank you so
and
much.
I can confirm it is a banger.
very, very,
and our
very
listeners
good.
Thank you so much.
should listen to that song. Very good
Thank you
song.
so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate
It
it.
is good.
Ed, how can people find you
Who are you?
on the glorious internet?
Well, you can't really find me on Twitch apart from that one
Yeah.
time.
We made our
But you can
debut.
find
We
me
made our
on-
debut. It's exciting.
We made our debut.
We do not
yeah,
speak of it.
and the whole chat said, "Please never come."
Yeah, I assume so.
You
I
know,
assume
that remains
so.
to be seen.
No, they loved you guys.
But you can find me. Well, they shouldn't. They can. You can find me at Still Not a Lemon on X or at Not a Lemon on Blue Sky. So maybe I'll see you there. Alex, do
Okay,
you
no,
have
no,
any?
we're not doing this calling it X thing. It's Twitter, and it always
That's
will
what
be.
I've
We're
been
not
saying. That's what I've been saying.
capitulating to Elon
It's
Musk.
been an
okay?
ongoing
Formerly known
discussion
as
until
Twitter.
there.
Okay.
As for myself, you can find me at Alex Dean, AlexDuin on Twitter, and on Blue Sky you can find me at Alex Dean at bsky.social. And also, as always, we beg and plead with you. And I mean, I'm going to start having children just so I can hand over my firstborn to you
That's crazy.
personally, dear listener, so that
Gets
you will
crazier every
share
time.
us on social media and you
Please-
can find the
Please share us.
podcasts.
The threats get crazier every
Yeah,
time.
You can find us on Twitter at Red Barrels Pod and on Blue Sky at redbarrelspodcast.bsky.social. As always, we mentioned them earlier. The music is from Brilliant Drink. Amazing music, amazing human. And I genuinely think that might be it for the 1 year anniversary. Join us next episode for the 1 year plus a little bit anniversary. But for right now, that is going to be it. And we are going to say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.